welcome to the Amstel Gold Race. Starting in Maastricht, finished in Berg de Terwijt. 13 Celsius is indeed the temperature. 14 kilometers per hour, virtually no wind. A lot of low cloud, but not exactly fog. And indeed a whole raft of climbs to be dealt with as well. This is a profile that always demands action. And quite often it has also produced itself a photo finish. We are, of course, in the Ardennes. We've already had plenty of climbing today, but plenty more remains. In fact, we still await the first passage of the Coburg, which will come after 171.8 kilometres of racing. Well, the finishes have been extremely tight. Photo finishes to decide the winner, both in 2022 when Kwiatkowski took it, head of Cosnefroid. Wout van Aert beating Pidcock in 21. No race due to COVID in 2020, but Mathieu van der Poel's victory in 2019 lives long in the memory. It is a race that demands an awful lot, especially if the pace that is set throughout it is a high one, and that's precisely what we've got today. And we are in the Limburg region of the Netherlands. And as you well know, the Netherlands is not renowned for its hills, so we play with them again and again and again, those that we do indeed have. And as soon as we hit those climbs, short and extremely sharp, with some percentages nudging up to around about that 10% margin, and in fact a huge altitude gain during the day of 3,290 metres. So for a flatland, we basically climb Everest. It is absolutely remarkable, beguiling race that demands, well, everything of riders, not only strength and fortitude, but also great strategy and the ability to tear up that strategy and go again. And by the time they reach the end today, it's going to feel like they've been well and truly brutalised, I can tell you. This was us at the start this morning. No Wout van Aert, no Remco Evenepoel, no Mathieu van der Poel, but plenty of other stars to draw the eye, and of course none bigger these days, it seems, than Tadej Pogačar. Everything he touches seems to turn to gold, especially at Flanders, Paris-Nice. He is, well, expected to be in charge, but there'll be plenty out there to try and stop him as well. Super strong team for UAE Team Emirates. Likewise, some other strength here. Thijs Benoot steps into the breach, but Attila Valter may well be somebody to ponder for Jumbo-Visma. And we're kind of wondering what Ineos Grenadiers might produce. Defending champion is Mikkel Kwiatkowski, who really dialed the clock back last year, but has indeed this season also stood up to scrutiny. And Tom Pidcock, likewise, here after Strade Bianche, and of course last year winning Alpe d'Huez, took a tumble, as you know, in Tirreno Adriatico, and we're just hoping that he is potentially back to his best. This, though, is not a great sign. Pidcock just held up by a technical before we got ourselves off and underway. So the official start rolled, and it was after only 4 kilometres that we got ourselves a breakaway, and a strong one at that. Leon Heinzke from Team DSM, we had Mali Vacek from Trek Segafredo, Matteo Verscher from Total Energies, Martin Urijnstad of Uno X Pro Cycling, Ludvigsen and Fideli from Q365, and Ward van Hof from Team Flanders. Well, they were away with until about 105 kilometres to go when they were tagged by the pack, which has been pushed on by those who would make this day difficult. UAE Team Emirates have very much been in controlling mood, at the behest of Tadej Pogačar, of course. As you can see, there's plenty of other teams that have hit the front now that the breakaway has indeed been caught. And this is a question of just maintaining the pace so that, indeed, nothing silly happens up front. Well, plenty of silly things occasionally do happen in this race. Not too many cobbles to deal with, the odd little bit of scratchy road surface, but plenty of climbs out there. And of course, with these narrow tracks and at this sort of pace, with only 89.7 kilometres remaining, may well be over, well within the 2-hour marker here remaining. It is phenomenally pacey. No wind today, so that's going to affect the likelihood of any kind of splits. We've got a rider just rolling off the front here with a gap of around 15 seconds undeclared for you just for the time being. Ups into Koenig with Søren Kragh Andersen come here with a lot of ambition, and I think you might say the same thing for Groupama Francis Joe with David Godot, who is waiting to wake up after looking or re-wake up, I should say, after good performance in Paris-Nice and not so good in the Basque Country. Variable has been his year so far, but with Madouas and Gregoire also here, then there are opportunities, of course, to stand tall on a day like this. Gianni Vermeersch is the man who's just rolled off the front for Alpecin-Deceuninck. More than that, he's tried to power away, but he's being tagged by a group of about 15 or 20 riders. And it's a dangerous time within the race from this sort of distance, and you're thinking, well, there's still just over 88 kilometres of the day to go. But Brian, it can happen at any time here, and I'm actually wondering if there's been an issue, maybe even a crash, because the gap has suddenly magnified itself here, and on these rough tracks you never quite know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we get 16 riders here in the front group, and it's just actually kicked off. It all came back together again, and we do have a lot of the favourites in here. Tom Pidcock just at the front there for Ineos Grenadiers, but it's just a case of we're on a small road there, and in small roads you can kind of block it a little bit. Lusenko also there, fresh from his win in the Tour of Sicily, so it is kicking off as we speak. Was being controlled by UAE Team Emirates for most of this race today, but when you go on a small road and some of the favourites start to go on the attack, it's going to be very difficult to get an organised chase. And from the pictures we saw, Israel Premier Tech were trying to do something. Mauro Smith just kind of clipping across to this group in front. But yeah, dangerous times, and it looks as if we've got some sort of organised chase. But this is a very, very strong group, Carlton. And
super nervy. Brian Coquard has also made the trip up to this front group. Lusenko, as you mentioned, from the Tour of Sicily, and they're regathering themselves right now. But as you can see, it is a diminished peloton nonetheless. It's been extremely busy right from the very start, and it's likely to be so until the end today. Heading for the Coburg after 171 kilometres of racing. That'll be the first taste of it. We'll be seeing it again, but not part of the final loop, famously. That was stripped out in 2017, unlike the women's race, which has just been defined by it at the very end, as we have just seen. Yeah, this is going to be extremely hard fought today. It almost seems like a question of survival more than any other form of strategy here, Brian.
I think the weather has played its part a little bit as well, but I just think that the way the race is playing out, I think UAE Team Emirates know that they've got the favourite in Tadej Pogacar, and he's in the front group, and they've set a strong tempo throughout, and then took advantage just as we were on the women's podium when the breakaway of 7 riders were brought back. We come onto a small climb, a small road, and it kicked off, and this is actually playing into the hands of Tadej Pogacar, who wants a very hard race. Same with Tom Pidcock. He's got Sheffield up there with him. Very interesting front group we have with 16.
Tireless and tiring, I think you might say, looking back through this group. We have a real sifting of quality graded grains, making finer flour. We'll see indeed how it transpires at the end of today. That's the man who draws the eye. Tadej Pogacar, spectacular season for him. I don't think there's ever been a season where he hasn't been spectacular, Brian.
Oh, maybe before he started cycling, but certainly when he's been on his bike, he's been absolutely tremendous. Under 23 all the way, and winning his first Tour de France, and he's such a quality rider, and he started off this season pretty much on fire.
He has. And setting a blaze today for you with UAE Team Emirates, the likes of Mario Trentin, Ryan Gibbons, Rui Oliveira, Mark Hirschi, the Swiss, Felix Grosshartner, and Sjoerd Baks. He's got a lot of strength at his disposal. He often makes his own team, Brian, I think, look weak because he himself is so strong. He's often having to go back for teammates. And it's almost an embarrassment of riches, really. There is strength there, but nobody is as strong as this man.
No, he's already proven it this year. He's just checking his tyres there, thinking it may have something wrong there, and possibly the wrong time to have any problem, because there's no team cars or nothing in this gap. I think it's Tosh van der Sande for Jumbo-Visma just at the back of this group. So there's a strong group here, but it does look as if, looking at these numbers, Lusenko here just recently won the Tour of Sicily, just flew up pretty much yesterday in this race today, but he looks strong in the race, but it does look as if Soudal Quickstep. None of these riders here. I just mentioned, maybe one rider in here for Soudal Quickstep just at back. We noticed that Mauro Smith was just kind of clipping across to another move, but Israel Premier Tech definitely chasing behind. Uno X were trying to chase as well, so there's a few teams that have missed out in this one, Carlton.
There are. Mauro Schmidt was the man who's the alarm bells hit first. Fantastic to see Ben Healy at the back here. Within this group, he needs to hide himself a little bit after all his efforts recently. Just runner-up on the Brabantspiel, Ben Healy, to the unexpected winner of Doré Godin, who is here, by the way, but in support of Benoit Cosnefroy. Ben Healy looked fabulous that day. Dare I say it, possibly bigger opposition for the man who represents Ireland for EF Education Easy Post, one of those. But it was lovely to see him functioning so well. I hope he does so today as well, Brian.
Yes, indeed. There were a lot of riders wanted to do something, but this is the front of the peloton now. You can see that a lot of teams have missed out and have now managed to come to the front. They're going to have a hard chase.
Well, it's only a 15-second gap, but as we've seen, and we saw it in the Brabantspiel, didn't we? As soon as a gap is established, depending on the quality of those out front, and of course someone like Tadej Pogačar is prepared to put in the work rate as well. He's here, he's isolated, he doesn't have any of his team around him. Well, that's a situation which he's kind of used to. Thomas Pidcock is here. Magnus Sheffield, another very strong performer. Tosh van der Sande has made the trip. Yanni Vermeersch. Tadej Pogačar, the aforementioned. Ben Healy, hooray, from EF Education Easy Post. Super rider, super team. Lars van der Berg. We have Kevin Geniet. Kentin Pacher as well. Alex Zingler. Alexei Litsenko, fresh from Sicily, and victory there. Man who often, around about this time of year, just really starts to crank it up. And he'll be a feature again in the Tour de France, you can imagine. I think he was 7th last year, wasn't he? Christopher Juhl Jensen, Matthias Soberg, Arijn Leivens, and we also have Andy Cron. That is also a very strong team. It's been interesting watching Andy Cron. Took a stage, of course, in Catalonia, not this year, but a couple of years ago. But he has been very, very strong and a regular feature. In fact, a couple of top tens, including Strade Bianche, don't forget, nudged under that. And Ruta del Sol started strongly, did the Dane. Only 24 years of age. We say only 24 years of age these days, and then you have to remind yourself that Tadej Pogačar is only 24 years of age as well, still dominating young rider classifications. They need to move that boundary. Meanwhile, not exactly a fence has been put up behind the lead 16, and it may well be that we see a coming together, but the alarm bells are ringing and ever louder now, I think it's fair to say, because in fact we have had a junction made here. Let's see. And in fact, finally, a regathering, Brian.
Yeah, we've still got, we had 16 in front. I believe that Sobrero for Yico Alula has just punctured, so might have only 15 riders in front. So I was just saying that a moment ago, no team cars in the gap now because it's so small, but unfortunately Sobrero not in the breakaway.
Today, what decided you to come here to the Amstel Gold Race?
I don't know. We decided this in December already, so yeah. I like Ardennes. I really like them, and the last few years I didn't do Amstel, but it's good to include it back into this program.
It's a race which is often hard, but it's also tactical. Everybody will be after you today.
Yeah, it's a really tactical race and hectic, left, right, up, down, and super fast, but with short climbs. But I think we have a good team to stay in the front and fight for the positions and fight for the final.
We know about the Quaremont, Paterberg, and Flanders. What are the key moments in this race for you?
I don't know, the last few climbs. Yeah.
You don't know them, do you?
I mean, I know, but I'm not going to pronunciate my... I don't have a good pronunciation of the climb, so better I don't say anything.
What is the essence of Amstel Gold Race? It's that crossroads between the Belgian Ardennes and the Cobble Classics.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's totally different than Cobble Classics, but it's also different to Liège. And yeah, it has its own little charm, and yeah, it's a beautiful race.
Thanks, guys.
It has its own little charm. Well, maybe he's got a magic one. I am not sure. But, you know, wins Flanders, Paris-Nice, shows everyone his back wheel whenever he takes to whatever surface it seems. And it's got its own little charm, this Brian. Can't believe that.
I think he may be talking about himself. A little charm.
Amazing.
Definitely putting the hurt on this front group. Really wants to make this difficult. This is the Coburg. Tosh van der Sande being distanced, Jo Jensen being distanced at the back. So, you know, it is a hard part of the race, and 81 kilometres to go. Still a long, long way to go to this finishing line, but I don't think Tadej Pogačar's taking any prisoners today. He knows that, you know, the peloton are chasing behind, and from what I saw, there was only Barry and Victoria's riding. You look at the riders behind, and it was they already had representatives in this front group. So if you've got the legs, you're going to have to hang on to the man on form, panic behind in the peloton.
It is, and it looks like AG2R Citroën have missed the feast, by the way, I'm afraid. Cosnefroid on the chase. It's unfortunate for him. He's been a nearly man here so often, of course, lost out on the photo last year as well. 80.8 kilometres to go. Now, this is where we are heading for our start-finish line, essentially. 79.2 kilometres to go. We're just about the Flamme Rouge at the moment. We'll then be pushing on. Well, winner of Flanders and the Amstel Gold Race, of course, that magic season for Philippe Gilbert did it in the same year. Eddy Merckx in 1975. Jan Ras back in the day. Let's see, getting the opportunity to do so. How magnificent is that? Took Flanders beautifully, did Tadej Pogačar, in an amazing display of individual strength and belief after the disappointment of the previous year. Brian, talk about being able to park it.
Yeah, previous years, but I'm more interested in what's happening at the moment, Carlton, because, you know, it really is kicking off. You've got, I think, this group at the front, we may call it the Pogačar group, Pidcock group, but it looked as if Thijs Benoot behind, trying to come across Cosnefroid, panicking the peloton, and the problem is, you know, these guys put themselves on the front just about within the last kind of 10-15 kilometres, just getting a bit of motor pace in there, by the way. But, you know, we see this often in bike races with the riders at the front. But yeah, this is the last kilometre, but it's so far to go. And these climbs, everybody prepared to ride at the moment, but it's who's going to be able to come across to this one, Carlton, because when you start attacking behind, it's a smaller group, and who's going to be prepared to ride? And a lot of the riders in the second group will have riders represented here, so there'll be a lot of passengers. So I think it's going to be very tough for this group behind to make the junction.
We'll see. Ben Healy is in this front group, as you can see. There's a few others that started with it, I'm afraid, like Arjen Leijvens, found themselves spread out the other side. Yeah, I thought it was Brian Kokon. It's Axel Zingler who's made the trip here. 79 kilometres to go then. So what lays ahead? Well, you're passing this start-finish line for the first time, and we have just under 79 kilometres to go by the time they do. Unlike last year, where we still had a slightly shorter distance remaining, but don't read too much into that. The first climbs after this relatively easy, but that doesn't mean it's going to be of great benefit, I think, to the chase. Big teams that have missed it. Jumbo-Visma, as Brian was mentioning, with Thijs Benoot, he's going to be absolutely livid. Likewise, Cosnefroid, we've seen him trying to extricate himself and bridge over for AG2R Citroën. They've missed the chase as well. Bora not here either. They've got Sergio Aguitus on very good form. He was super in the Basque Country. He'll be disappointed mightily that he's not there as well. There are lots of teams who could help with the drive into this gap, Brian, but there's also a lot of teams who'll be spoilers. Yeah,
it's actually come back together a little bit, and we've got a group of about, maybe 70, 80 riders now. But like you say, Carlton, it's who's going to do the riding. Jumbo-Visma had come to the front. Bahrain had already done a little bit of work, a bit of panic from the AG2R Citroën team. Uno X also, but the best place to be is in this group. Maybe not if you look around and you're not feeling so good and you see Pogacar and the likes of Tom Pidcock there, but they've got nothing to lose. They'll continue to ride. It's in their best interests. They've been in the splits, but this is going to be a hard chase to bring these riders back. And Sam Oomen comes to the front for Jumbo-Visma. Trek, Segafredo in the white and the red sleeves have come to the front to chase, but it's frantic at the moment because most of the strong riders are now in this front group.
They are. Lutsenko just heading it, as you can see, for the time being. That's Gianni Vermeersch just on his shoulder. Ben Healy's helping out with some of the drive. Also featuring here, well, here's your list. Pogacar, of course. Standard Tricht is that man. I'm loving this. 26 seconds. Chase is on. There's a great distance to go. But with the power that we've got here, Pidcock, Sheffield as a pairing is fantastic. Great to have a teammate with you in a moment such as this. Geniet's got one with Van den Berg as well. But you look at the solos who are here. Ben Healy, we know, has got a great deal of drive. Tadej Pogacar, the ultimate engine at a moment such as this. Zingler, Lutsenko, who's, it seems he's undiminished after Sicily. Remarkable.
Yeah, he's travelled well, hasn't he? Got really good form, but the trouble about this race, it's twisting and turning, it's up and down hills, and very difficult to organise a chase, and I think it's in everybody's interest to ride here. The good part about it, this group, is there's 11 riders in the front group, and all 11 riders are committed. They know that there's a lot of teams that have missed out, but the best place to be in this race is in the front of the race, and they're there already. Okay, they've got a few of the kind of race favourites there, but leave the other teams to try and kind of bring them back. But this is a real strong group at the front, and a strong chase behind, and I just worry that the teams behind are going to burn their marches.
Let's hear from Tish Benoot, shall we?
Tish, well, tell us first, how are you? How do you feel?
Oli?
How do you feel? How are you?
I feel quite good. I had a good week of training after Flanders, so looking forward to today.
And it's a race where you already had good results. What's your relation with that race?
Yeah, I really like the area, like the climbs, short hills, no cobbles. Suits me good, I think.
And what could be the plan today, knowing that there is Tadej Pogacar here?
Yeah, we see how strong his team is. Try to anticipate, but it depends a bit how strong his team will be. Maybe he also has a bad day one day.
And you spoke about anticipating. Is there key points on the course that you have in mind?
The final really starts from the Kruisberg on. So from there on, we have to look for opportunities, maybe already earlier on, but there it will be really hard. I think I have to go for the podium there.
Thank you, Tish.
Well, quite modest, to be honest, by his of his own capabilities, but unfortunately his team have missed this one, and so they're on duty, and they're being lent on just a little bit with 29 seconds the gap now. It's ebbing and flowing, but you kind of feel that when you're in a group such as this, provided they work as a cohesive unit, whenever they decide to turn on the power, they can do so. And sometimes you get this concertinaing, Brian, where the break kind of eases a little bit. It almost draws out a response from the chase. They burn a few matches, and then the break just push on again.
Well, look who's at the front here, Sam Oomen, and he's pulling faces. Uno X have got a couple of riders there. Trek have got one rider there, so it's 5 riders, Carlton, and you've got 11 riders at the front. Majority of them for the moment are prepared to ride. Okay, we're on this small climb again, and it's constant in this part of the world, and there's going to be a couple of riders that you see Zangler just at the back here, just missing that turn. He's suffering a little bit, but the majority of them want to push on, so it's going to be a hard chase behind.
24 seconds is the gap. We've got an extraordinarily strong group up front. They ease just a little bit on occasion, and then kick on again. It's almost like they're playing with those behind, almost like as if they're in heartbreak mode. Sam Oomen's doing a lot of the chasing for Jumbo-Visma just for the time being. For me, the team that is best placed within the chasing group is the team of Groupama Francés, who have Van den Berg and Kevin Genietz up the road. They all have their 3 favoured riders, David Gaudu, Valentin Madouas and Romain Grégoire. If it does come back together because Jumbo-Visma power into this gap. They've got a free magic carpet ride, and I suspect that David Gaudu, although he disappointed in the Basque Country, may well re-find his Paris-Nice form. Let's wait and see. Reasonably nicely metalled road that we're dealing with at the moment, and it's bouncing back out to that 30-second margin, and as you can see, no team wants to go all in just for the time being. It's not just, however, Jumbo-Visma that have missed out here. It's Mathieu Trentin. I can only imagine that he's done an awful lot of work earlier on today, because you don't see that sign from Trentin very often. He's an incredibly powerful and giving rider, and he's clearly given his all today, I think, for Tadej Pogačar.
I think they have. We had a bit of a regrouping, but you know, Trentin, former European champion, very strong rider, but I think they've done a lot. Just watching Pogačar here, it's not for the first time I see him kind of look and kind of bounce on his tyres a little bit. We know that Sobrero was in the original group of 16 and he's dropped back. Now we're starting to see attacks off the front of the peloton. So the peloton of, just look at Sam Moman. He's been on the front for what, how many, 2-3 kilometres now? Just look behind him, 2 Ineos Grenadiers. Yeah. No one else coming up. Bora sitting back, Uno X are now sitting back. So this is a time where the gap will start to go up. A couple of more riders from the Jumbo-Visma coming up, and I think, you know, they have to take the reins. This is it's a Dutch team, it's a Dutch race, and you know, at the end of the day, the pressure is always on. It's the same all the time. When in this part of the world, this team formerly, you know, of Rabobank, they used to take it on right from the start. They took great prestige. Okay, they never always delivered the result, but at the end of the day, Jumbo-Visma are really under pressure here, and Jus van Emden, one of the most experienced riders, is coming up to the front. Sam Omen, poor Sam Omen, was doing all the riding, but just look at the teams lining up behind. They're not going to help out now that Jumbo-Visma are committed to this. This gap will kind of hold a little bit, but I can see it going up even more.
Was that Thijs Benoot that went off the back for a comfort break?
I never noticed.
I think he did, just as they're pushing on, so I'm not sure whether that was badly timed or whether Thijs Benoot has decided that this is not his day. Would be a strange one, but there you go, because Jus van Emden is just hitting the front right now. Yeah, I'm sure, almost certain I saw Thijs Benoot just go for a comfort break just as they hit the front, which means he's, unless it was a very short one.
Well, they'll use the length of the peloton just to drop back. That's what they often do. So yeah, if you do it from the front and drift to the back, I think he's still in this group. Otherwise, they wouldn't be riding as much. But
my feeling too.
You know, one rider from Trek Segafredo, one from Bahrain Victorious starting to ride. You know, help Jumbo-Visma, but the pressure really is on these teams. Gap now 41 seconds, and you know, a lot of the teams are represented, but there's also teams in here, Carlton, that have missed out, but you know, wanting to sit back. The team of Israel Premier Tech were starting to ride. They were one of the first teams to start to ride, but often is the case in these races, when a team like Jumbo-Visma come up to the front, everybody sits back. But I don't think that's, you know, put one rider up, don't sit back, because that's a quality breakaway.
Certainly is. Cyrus Monk there with the long hair, a very unmonastic haircut. Just settling himself back in. A few others as well. But look at the gap. It's gone up to 44 seconds. I'm actually just wondering whether they actually knew that Thijs Benoot was off the back, and whether they've eased a little bit. It doesn't look like it, but the drive out front, Alexei Lutsenko gets himself a result in Sicily, and I've seen him on the front of that group of 11 more often than just about anybody else. This is Dorian Godon, a man who is taking a shortcut here to try and re-embed himself, but that's not ideal either. UAE Team Emirates, Speard Bax, who's also done a lot of work, just recovering at the back. Just by where I'm seeing UAE Team Emirates team, everyone else, it's their job to chase. I think they killed off the original breakaway today as a springboard for Tadej Pogačar, who now has no need of their services. He's going to help himself. And with 3/4 of a minute that they've got, it's he that is driving on for the time being, tucked in behind him. The two from Groupama also want this to succeed, so they've been given the free hand. I don't know, maybe we've got some of the big names before we actually started today thinking, well, fellas, have your fun, away you go.
Well, the thing you've got here is all 11 riders are prepared to ride. I'm thinking that anyway, because they stand a great chance of getting a good result here. So it doesn't matter if you look around, you see Pogačar, Pidcock and teams with multiples, everybody's prepared to ride Carlton because they're in with a good chance of getting a good result. Where the peloton are chasing behind, but the problem sometimes with the peloton is a lot of teams are not willing to ride. Just watching here, Pogačar again, he's putting his hand up. No team cars will be in this gap, so he won't get any assistance from his team car for the moment. So I'm just not too sure. He's bounced on his wheels a little bit. Whether he's got a problem, we'll have to wait and see. But just look here, everybody's prepared to ride, and that's going to make a difficult chase behind. But they are, and it's down to 34 seconds.
Well, there's a conundrum here for this group as well, because with Tadej Pogačar up front, if he has got himself a problem, if he goes back, then his entire team are going to remuster themselves and kill off this breakaway. So you think it would be in their interest to push it on for a minute, let him get a bike change, and then carry on with him.
Yeah, that's if he has a problem. He's kind of bouncing his tyres a little bit and just put his hand up. The team car will not be allowed in this gap anyway, and I think he'll realise that. So just looking at the positive that he doesn't have any problem. But, it's a sizable peloton now, a lot of pressure on Bahrain, and even Arkea have come up. So some teams have decided to come up and help, and they need to.
Tom, speaking to some of the other teams, they say it's hard not to base your race around the top star, and in this case, it's Tom. Well, we hope Tom can, but they mentioned Tadej Pogačar. How does Ineos approach this?
Yeah, I think, of course, you have to be aware of when Tadej, you have to be ready for Tadej to attack. Because this is the guy you can't give a gap to and let him ride away. But then again, you can't base your whole race around one rider, and we think you have to nail the certain sections, and this race has a lot of points which you need to be at the front as a team, and where the race happens. So I think that doesn't change.
Something like 33 climbs in this race. How well do you know it, and how would you define the Amstel Gold Race?
Yeah, I guess I only raced the full circuit once. It's a super hard race, but it's really a race I really like, and I'm looking forward to it.
There's all the chatter in social media, especially after Strade Bianche. Should that be a monument? Should this be a monument? Which would you vote?
They both have history, to be honest. In my opinion, these two races rank over a couple of monuments, but that's just my opinion. But you can't just start adding everything as a monument. It's not what you can do, can you?
Well said. See you at the finish.
Thank you.
Well, you can't ride everything as if it's a monument. Well, Tadej Pogačar seems to do so. A little bit of a nervous day for him. He finds himself in the right place. He's shredded his team to get him into the front group. He's not happy with his bike, or apparently so. He's looking all over the machine and just wondering whether everything is well. Tries to take a bottle, misses it. Tries to take another one, misses it. Gets on the radio to say, I haven't got anything, I need a bottle. There's no gap for him to get service if there is an issue with his bike and he wants an exchange. He's not got the sustenance he required. There's nobody to help him just for the time being. He's been through past the helpers. It just shows that even a great like Tadej Pogačar can get things just a little bit wrong on occasion. I don't know whether he's overthinking the day, but he looks a bit more nervous than perhaps I'd have expected.
Well, we'll wait and see what the problem is. He's got two bottles on his bike for the moment. So, but like you say, when we're listening to Pidcock there, that he was trying to kind of grab bottles from other teams. Just looking here at the front here, pat in the back there for Joos van Emden. So the chase doesn't seem as strong as it was. Matteo Trentin just moves up on the right hand side in the black and the white. So there's a few of the yellow Jumbo-Visma riders have kind of dropped back now. Sam Oomen is not there now. He says Thijs Bennett on the left-hand side, and also coming up to the front and starting to kind of infiltrate this chase is Ineos Grenadiers. So it came down a little bit, Carlton, but let's see what Tadej Pogačar is requiring.
My worry is that Trentin gave us the sign that his day was done and he was empty, and now he's been called to duty. Well, the team cars are seeing the same pictures as we are, and Tadej Pogacar's looked a little bit nervous. He's been on the radio, he's tried to take bottles, he's been looking all over his bike. A few minutes ago, if you weren't with us, Mathieu Trentin gave us the sign where you draw fingers across your throat as if to say, that's me done for the day. And then all of a sudden he's back up at the front here, just monitoring the situation in case he's called to duty. And I suspect he may well be on disrupting duties. If they can get this gap up to a minute, then maybe Pogacar will get the service that he clearly is looking for. There's no car to help him for the time being because the gap is so small, and so there's an interest for other teams to try and kill this off. If Pogacar's got a problem, he's hovering at the back here where he's been doing most of the driving, then that's very bad news for UAE Team Emirates, because they've spent just about everybody, as Trentin indicated, and he's now as part of the disrupting group on the front line of those who are chasing, and it's coming down 25 seconds. Now that Pogacar, we speculated a few moments ago, Brian, whether it was wise for these guys to kind of look after Pogacar, hold the gap, let him get the exchange he was looking for. Do they want him here? That's the point, though, Brian.
No, definitely it's better to have him here. He's just at the back there, and I think it will come back down because of the chase, but it might push out a little bit more. I think Pogacar's happy being in this place, and if he feels the need, then he'll accelerate on this climb or the next climb. But he's in a happy situation. He always wanted a hard race, and it has been a hard race so far. You can just see the size of the peloton now, where they've started racing from, because the favourites normally want to just be racing in the final. They don't want to be racing kind of 80 kilometres, 90 kilometres out, which they have been doing already.
This is the Kierdeberg that we're on at the moment. In fact, I beg your pardon, it's the Bemelerberg. Three of them come very, very short order. 900 metres, 5%. So more of a draggy test, if you will. Today, over the full reach of our race distance today, which is a substantial one, as you well know, of well over it's 253.6 kilometres. We actually have an altitude gain of 3,290. That is the sort of altitude gain that you get on a proper alpine day within the Grand Tours. So you can see just how much climbing we're doing. It seems we're either climbing or indeed transitioning to the next climb almost as a constant. These three come as a rat-a-tat, very, very close together. The Gulhemmerweg, 1 kilometre at 6.2% they've dealt with. It was the same distance and almost the same incline. I think they're possibly on the same valley. The Kierdeberg up to the same escarpment. And this is the Bemelerberg that we are on at the moment. So yeah, the last couple of climbs, the Gulhemmerweg and the Kierdeberg, we will be seeing again later on. In fact, we will see the Gulhemmerweg, I beg your pardon, and the Bemelerberg late on. In the last 16 kilometres, once we've dealt with the Coburg, we will not be seeing it again. It used to feature very much as the last test, Brian, but when it was stripped out, there was a lot of people threw their arms up and said, oh no, it's like the Muur de Gerardsberg, and it's been lost to the race. And well, it hasn't. It still features, unlike the Muur in Flanders, but this has changed the profile a little bit. But the racing's been fantastic here, almost constantly. We've had some great results, really great racing. We've seen that, witnessed it, and very close as well.
It has been. When I rode it, it finished in Maastricht, and it was more of a kind of a small sprinters race. I think it was Johan Mizeo won it in a sprint that year, way back in '94, and then it used to finish at the top of the Coburg, and it used to be the part of the triple where you got kind of hilltop finish at the top of the Coburg, then you get Muur de Huy, and then you get Liège-Bastogne-Liège. And as we all know in cycling history, that's there's a very few people that have done the triple. So Amstel, Flèche-Wallonne, and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. So, and then they decided, when the Worlds came, they decided to not finish at the top of the Coburg, but about a kilometre and a half afterwards, when it was a little bit flatter. And they've decided to use that from now on. So it's kind of gone away from a little bit of the kind of pure dare I say it's sprint up the Coburg, so it's kind of moved away from that to potentially a sprint of a kind of small group. So it's a really interesting final, this one. So they come through with 16 kilometres going, then they've got a couple of climbs to the finish, and I think the last few editions that we've witnessed, Carlton, have come very close, photo finishes, and very exciting.
Yeah, they've been absolutely brilliant. This is the day, Brian, where the world of cycling comes to the Netherlands, and it's odd that it's a rarity.
Yeah, it's right. Where this race is right beside Belgium and Germany. In this area of Limburg and Maastricht, and you can actually do a few countries in one day. Actually, today we dipped into Belgium for a little bit. But just looking at the front of the peloton now, yellow jerseys have kind of disappeared a little bit. I think the onus now at the front of the peloton has been taken up by Barry and Victorious. So they've got a couple of riders there. But just look at Ineos Grenadiers. they're wanting to just police things. Trenton is there, they're happy. So what that tells us at the front of the peloton is Ineos Grenadiers are more than happy, because they're up towards the front there with Kwiatkowski, very experienced riders. Trentin is there for UAE Team Emirates in the white with the black sleeves. But now Trek Segafredo have disappeared, Jumbo-Visma have disappeared, a lot of teams have kind of disappeared. Which says to me that they just don't have the firepower to be able to do that. It's holding at 30 seconds. I think this will be the case for maybe the next 5, maybe 10 kilometres. But I said a moment ago, this is going to be a hard chase to bring these riders back, and it's appearing to be.
It certainly is. You can see that this was once a cobbled descent. In fact, I remember it as cobbled and extremely skittery. The rain gullies still hold onto the cobbles at the side of the road, but it's been an asphalt cover. Meanwhile, time to grind into this one, why don't you? Yeah, it's one of those days where if climbing's not your thing, then you're really going to find yourself, I'm afraid, in a pretty hurtful place. At least the road surface is smooth. Generally speaking, the roads in the Netherlands are an awful lot better than the roads in Belgium. Seems an odd thing to say, I guess you might think, because Belgium being the centre of all things European. But no, their roads infrastructure has been terrible for years. I think it's probably amended recently, but the Netherlands take great pride in all their connections, and this man, I'm afraid, has lost contact, has he not? Shored backs, not the only one. There's a few teams who fried early. Jumbo-Visma, it was Hayes Benut that went back for a comfort break, by the way. I don't know whether that's him saying, OK, fellas, it's not going to be me, push on. But Jos van Emden was off the back as well. He'd had his day. This is Josh Tarling, big lad there for Ineos Grenadiers. Here he is, likewise suffering just a little bit. It's absolutely relentless. That's the problem, Brian. There's no respite from the climbing. And if it's not your thing, there may be small tests, but they're regular and punishing.
When they build up towards this race, they named Pogačar as the favourite, and rightly so. But it was never going to be easy. It's completely different to the Tour of Flanders, and the hills here are. Tadej Pogačar can go kind of short, steep climbs, but it's the consistent nature of these climbs. It's one after the other, up and down, up and down, up and down, and he really wanted a hard race. Well, I think the weather has played a little bit part in that, because the kind of grizzly conditions, we've seen it in the women's race as well. It's going to be a tough day out. Normally this race has got kind of really good weather, nice and sunny and things like that, and normally it's a kind of slow build up. The breakaway goes and we're into the final, maybe kind of 50 kilometres, and that's where the favourites start to go. Well, they've been starting to go for the last kind of hour of this race, and Pogačar said coming into this that he wanted a hard race. Well, he's got a hard race.
Yeah, his problem is it might be hard on him as well, because of those who are surrounding him at this very moment. This is super strong. I notice as well that Pidcock is giving a turn. He's taking a turn, I should say. But he's extremely lucky that he's got a teammate with him as well in Magnus Sheffield, who is a phenomenal fighting force. Just coming up now, the American, onto wheel 4. That's Ben Healy, who's had a very good run recently on the Brabant Spiel, runner-up, as I'm sure you saw, where the surprise winner was Dorian Godon, which shows you that surprises at this time of the year, especially when we start to head to the Ardennes and have those pre-races as well, which it can throw up just the odd result that makes you wonder. It was wonderful, though, to see Ben Healy functioning so highly, and he's in the front group again. So no sign of Godon, but Ben Healy is definitely there. He was runner-up in the Brabant Appeal. Not a sprinter, whereas Dorian Godon's got a bit more of a kick on him. That was good to see. Yeah, disappointment for Ben. We have the 3 hardest climbs that settle into about the next, in about 20 kilometres time. We're going to be enjoying them. The Kreuzerberg, 800 metres at 7.5%. The Isar Bosweg, just over a kilometre in length at 8.1%. And then the Keutenberg, which is 700 metres at 9.4%. So if you've been wondering where the real horrible stuff is, it's still to come. We'll be hitting 9%, so nudging up towards the 10 with the Gulperberg, and that's in about 15 kilometres time. We'll talk you through the climbs as we get there, but we're on a little bit of a reach now. In fact, this is one of the biggest gaps that we've got between climbs. Luhrberg is the next one, 1,600 metres in length, 4.8%, so not one of the most testy. But look at the gap, it's absolutely rock solid at that margin of half a minute. And Brian's prediction, let's see if its crystal ball is working, is that it's going to hold around this margin for 10 Ks. So far you're holding steady there, Brian.
Yeah, the next 5 to 10 Ks are going to be telling. It's a big effort here from Barry and Victorious. You've got Wout Poels is just doing a big turn there, but it's going to be difficult to bring these riders back with only having 3 riders at the front for Bahrain.
Well, let's see what Tom Southam and Matty Brescia were saying to EF Education Easy Post at the beginning of the day.
Gels, use each other. That's how you race this race. Yeah? So, sign on, neutral, just follow the plan. It's on CAS as well. I'm gonna start with the roles because I know that you're very curious. We have top 10 in the world right now with us, and Nielsen is the captain and the leader for this race, and you're going to follow the best. You're going to wait until the finals, use your teammates. Yeah? Ben, you're obviously very good at the moment. You're also a protected leader. I think you can get very far in this race. I would love for you to get out there before the shit really hits the fan. There is possibilities, but in what I call the pre-final, if the race goes too fast, because obviously the big teams know that other teams is going to attack, then you have to wait, right?
There we are, privileged to be allowed access to EF Education Easy Post briefing. I always wonder once we leave whether there are other things are said, but that seemed to make sense. Nielsen Paulus, 7th in Milan San Remo, Dwaldor 3rd. Flanders had a good result there as well. This is his debut in this race, by the way. Nielsen Paulus, 5th, by the way, in France. Debut in this race. So for Nielsen to have that responsibility, I guess plan B, or the other protected rider, as you've heard, Ben Healy, who's going extremely well. They always said it on our behalf. They almost know it. But yeah, we certainly know it, runner-up in Brabant Spiel, and he is in the front group. So I guess a little bit of adaptability is required. It looks like Nielsen Paulus is well within this group at the moment, along with other teammates from EF. Bahrain Victorious are the ones that are having to do the drive. They had high hopes for Mate Mohoric today. Also, well, Poles, but it would have had to be for long range, and their problem is, despite the fact the gap is coming down to 24-25 seconds, nudging around about that margin, it's a difficult task, and every team that comes to the fore, they're not working together, Brian, those that have missed out, and it's to their detriment.
It's a real hard chase, but I tell you what, Wout Poels and also Nikias Arndt doing a really strong ride here, holding it just under 30 seconds. Mohoric just sitting in 3rd place there, but just going back to that team meeting with the EF Education, that's one point where you have to kind of think on your feet. To have Nelson Powless, strong rider, to wait for the final, well, you can clearly see that the final ain't happening, because when the strong riders are going in the final, they've already gone. So you have to go with them. So there's a few things that riders have to kind of think for themselves. There's no point waiting for the final if the final's going to be already here at the front group and not back the road. So I think if he had the legs, he should have been here. Maybe he was out of position a little bit, but it's a lot of the times that you expect the riders to kind of think for themselves a little bit, rather than I know you have to kind of give orders and give a plan, and it's always nice to have a plan. They're quite lucky that the man on form, Ben Healy, is there, and he is doing his job. But I feel like Nelson, I know we're kind of picking on a little bit at the moment, but we've just heard that the managers' meeting. So Nelson Powless maybe didn't have the legs, maybe he was out of position, but the best, right? Some of the favourites have already gone up the road, and he wasn't part of them. If he was part of them, that would have been perfect.
See if perfection indeed reveals itself. Courtesy of them, Lutsenko hits the front. Tadej Pogačar is sort of short-changing at the moment, as you can see, which means he's prepared to help out more than some others are. Drops into the middle of the pack here, which means he'll take a turn earlier than a few others, including Ben Healy, who's riding very cleverly at the back at the moment. I guess he's got the excuse of saying, well, Nelson Powless is the man I'm working for, so I ain't doing much here. For the time being anyway. He may well mug him. Let's see. 32 seconds. That was a good old drive away there. Watch the clock now that Tadej Pogačar hits the front. It bounced down to around 23 seconds. He got on the front, Brian, absolutely monstered it. Caused a little bit of stress within this front group. Some struggling just to keep up, it seemed, momentarily. And now settled back down to 25 to 30 as a margin. The thing about Tadej Pogačar is whenever the question is asked, even if he asks the question of himself, he has the answer.
He seems to have the answer, doesn't he? He seems to be in control at the moment. However, he was trying to get a bottle, he was trying to help out. But the concern for me for the moment is when that group went and then alarm bell started going off and a lot of teams were moving towards the front and starting to ride. Well, where are they now? They've gone, they've left. It's two riders, Nicky Arndt and Wout Poels, against 11 riders at the front. Okay, not everybody in the front is actually riding, but the majority of them are. So if you're in the front and you're rolling through 11 riders and you've got two riders swapping turns at the front, how long can two riders hold 11? That's the question for me. That's why I said moments ago the next 5 to 10 kilometres will tell the difference, because these are rolling through. They're not really riding hard. Well, I tell you what, Nicky Arndt and Wout Poels are riding super hard at the front of it. How long can they actually last?
Well, not long, I don't think, quite frankly.
And what the other team's doing?
Yeah, it's precisely. There's no cohesion in the chase, and so as a result, you get individual teams coming through and burning themselves out. I think it was the same in the Ravage Appeal. We had a very modest margin. Dan Lloyd pointing out that really teams need to get together and actually work.
But that's the problem sometimes, yeah. Carlton, is they see other teams working. I tell you what, you do it, we'll take
exactly.
We'll take the benefits.
It's no good.
The benefits never come, right? So if you're in that group behind and you want to win this race, then put one rider up and help out Bahrain victorious, because I tell you what, they cannot keep this going for too much longer now.
I don't think so. And look at what's happening to the gap. It's back up to 30 seconds. I think there's going to be a snap. My view is that they have pushed on and delivered this, even with only half a minute and 50 Ks to go, simply because the chase is not cohesive. And look at the teams who have riders in the break are just coming up to make it a mess for, indeed, a few of the others. Trek Segafredo just now moving up and saying, all right, we've had enough of this. We better do our job. I often wonder, Brian, whether some of the teams are actually listening to you in the car.
They may, but then they may not. So I think that a lot of them have got their own plans, and we've just heard from EF Education Easy Post, and maybe they have had a plan, but the plan for me is a lot of times you never know what's going to happen in the race. You never know when Pogačar is going to go on the attack and the race is going to be. You have to think on your feet, and it's okay having these race radios and barking orders and things like that. Riders have to think on their feet the whole time. But I think it was just more of a pushing into position. A lot of the teams were coming up to get their leader into position. Well, some of them are out of position at the moment. But, who's going to continue the chase? And it's still all about position more than chasing. So we come round that. We saw Trek Segafredo move up into position. And now they've left it to Bahrain victorious, and we're starting to see a reaction now from the riders in the breakaway. As soon as that gap comes down to under 25 seconds, they push out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they're kind of playing with them, this concertina effect that we were talking about. Let them have a little bit of belief, then snuff that. Oh, we've had a tumble. Nightmare. Lots of riders down as well, I'm afraid. Oh dear. That's Devan, who's at the side of the road. 2 from EF have found themselves on the deck as well. Not what anyone wants to see. Tobias Johannesson also finding himself down, hopefully not out.
Gear off.
Not
good on there.
Let's have a look. We may well see it at the bottom of the hill here. Somebody loses back wheel, bang! And then it's a collection. It shows you how sheer road surface has a cost quite clearly. Just on the white lines there, Brian.
Yeah, Godon, who won in the week, was one of the worst off in the side there. What we saw at the back there was, panic. We saw a rider just bang on the brakes, and with the disc brakes, you stop, and unfortunately just slid out. So you can see it, you can hear it coming. The worst thing you can do is actually panic, and that caused a lot of the problems there. But yeah, nice and easy at the front, not so nice and easy at the back in the peloton.
Do you know, it was Trek Segafredo that were pushing on, working for Matti Shelmos, by the way. They had Vacek in the early form of the brake that was caught just before we came to air. This is never a nice sight, I'm afraid. This is Sandro Maurice, and bikes have gone down as well. I'm just wondering, obviously came round too hot. I'm hoping that that bike didn't tag anybody and was just involved on its own. Not nice. What drama. 37 seconds, 38. Well, they've got to, I presume, there's quite a few principal riders that got caught out there, Brian. It's going to be a wait up.
Well, the principal riders should have been at the front. I think we just saw that Trek Segafredo were moving, Skelmos up a little bit before that particular point. So this part of the course, it was always giving the information out to make sure that they were towards the front. And so the favourites should be there at the front of the peloton.
Newns gets himself a new steed here. Still some attention being issued, I'm afraid. Was it Dorian Godin that was
Godin was the one off. Another couple of riders were badly shaken up. We just saw an acceleration there for I think it was either Schelling for Bora. But Bahrain, well, how long did they last? They lasted a long period of time, but it was only a matter of time before they went pop. Now Trek Segafredo have taken it up, but they've only got one man riding. They've got another man towards the back of this group, but that crash has decimated the peloton behind.
Afraid so. The gap did swell to 42 seconds from the peloton to our quality breakaway. And you're looking at it right now. Healy just goes wide, tucks in by the barriers. Please don't interfere with those feet, fellas. The metal feet of the barriers I'm referring to, of course. Meanwhile, Van der Berg looks like he's struggling just a little bit, I'm afraid. Kevin Genietz is his teammate, who functions higher, it seems, when the road pitches up. 50 kilometres to go, and it's heading back towards the 40-second marker, and Lutsenko looks absolutely majestic at the moment. He's somebody who warms up in the latter part of Grand Tours and often nudges into the top 10. Seen that on 2 occasions in the Tour de France. He's been brilliant. I don't even know whether he's actually hit his form too early by his own measure, but he's on great form at the moment after coming with victory in Sicily, and he comes here very different weather. Seems to be functioning spectacularly so. Bahrain back on the front now with Jumbo. We saw Thijs Benoot himself starting to mix it, and looking back to see Bora now just wondering what they can get out of the day. Well, they're trying, Brian, but I'm afraid it looks like a full-on hope now.
Well, these are the principals now
Yeah.
in other teams. So Barry Victorious have used up their team. Tish Benut is here towards the front. Trenton still hanging in there in 5th place. Jai Hindley also there. So there's a lot of riders that have used up their teammates.
Nielsen Paulus. Well, he was the chosen son at the beginning of the day.
I think he's been down,
Not
Carlton.
anymore. I'm certain he has.
He was one of the riders that was down in that crash. Unfortunately, EF Education, you can put all this work into plan and have one of the riders in the top 10 in the world at the moment, but just coming off in a crash there, end of race.
So it's all on the shoulders of the diminutive Ben Healy. I'd love to see him go well. Meanwhile, this man, Van der Berg, just getting himself back in, wants to stay there. Good battle plan for Groupama France Prestigieux if it does come back. Just a suggestion that we've got some rain. I don't think it's just pick up off the road. We may well get it. Let's see. Don't forget Groupama 2 in the break with Van der Berg and Genietz, provided that this man Van der Berg does get back in. I'm not quite sure he will. And it's getting to be a greasy surface because we have got light rain. That's not nice. But Groupama with Godot, Madouas and Gregoire, don't forget, as their favoured riders, can sit on the chase. 32 seconds. Hard to be stuck in no man's land at a moment such as this. Full on hope for him to get back in. I'm not sure he will because we'll be on the next climb, which are not to his liking. And we're starting to get to that sort of grippy time right now. We've just been over the Luerberg, but next up, and in about 5 kilometres time, he might just get back in, but he won't like 9%, Brian, even if it's only 400 metres left. It's the Gulperberg.
And he'll be taking big gulps at the moment because I don't think he'll be wanting to get back in because if he's struggling now, he's going to struggle in the next one and the next one after that. So I think it's kind of game over.
Well, the Gulperberg comes with 43.8 kilometres to go. It's an announcement of the 3 hardest climbs that we have in the race that come together. The Kreuzerberg, the Eiserbosweg, and indeed the Keutenberg. And we're talking nudging up to 10%. One of them, 1,100 metres in length, 8.1% as a maximum. Yeah, it's no easy task. And neither is this chase. It was Trek Segafredo that actually put in the pace, just taking over from Bahrain Victorious. They were the ones that were prepared to share the duty. No sign of Bora Hansgrohe. I thought that Sergio Guito is on terrific form, might actually have something for today. And lovely as well, little hand off here from Trentin on wheel 5. As Bahrain come back up, and Alpecin still have an interest of just being disruptive. They've got Gianni Vermeersch up the road, don't forget. So it's not going to be them that chase in. Trentin gave the sign that he was spent earlier on, Brian, and he's refound his legs. He's kind of had to, as just in case Tadej Pogačar has any kind of issue. At the moment, it seems his problems have diminished.
Well, I was going to say it recovered a little bit, but it's always difficult to recover in this sort of terrain. But yeah, it's the best place to be was in the front. It looked as if, when it started to kick off, just as we came to air in that group of 16, went off the front, it was just panic stations behind, and they haven't got to grips with things. And what we're actually seeing play out here is teams sitting back and allowing other teams to do it, and it's not been a cohesive chase behind in the peloton. The question I've got is, Trek Segafredo are doing it now. Why didn't they help with Bahrain Victorious earlier on? That's the question. I always think these questions in races, because the tactics of a lot of the teams is always a case of let the other teams do it. We'll sit back and we'll. For me, whenever I was in that position, I don't care. Just bring them back first, and then we're back in the race.
Brian, you're a DS. How often, you've got everyone's numbers, how often do you have a brief conversation on a mobile?
From time to time. I wouldn't say it's weekly, maybe a couple of weeks I'll go by and I'll
I'm
chat.
talking during a race.
Oh, during a race? Well, if I'm commentating, I can't. But sometimes I'll swap some messages around. Definitely, I'll talk. There's a few good ones I'll talk to. After about their teams, even their team's tactics during the race, and even they're scratching their head at sometimes. There's a few races at the start of the year, but a lot of the times it'll be, I've had probably 2 or 3 in my black book phoned me and asked me what would I do in these situations going into the next stage of an event. So
that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, in a race, alliances have to be formed, sometimes work rate. Why Bahrain Victorious ringing up Trek and saying, for goodness sake, why can't we work together on this one?
Yeah, like,
and it seemed a bit of a no-no to me.
Yeah, it's in their best interest to be able to do that. But sometimes there's that lack of communication between teams. Maybe, maybe something's happened in the past between these certain sports directors, and they're not willing to kind of help each other out. Believe me, this happens. You never helped us out in the race before, so we're not helping you out now. That comes to mind. A good sports director will forget what's happened in the past races and what's going to benefit. Is what's going to benefit them now in this race. And it's clear that Trek Segafredo sat back, not helped Bahrain Victorious for some sort of reason, and they're going to. They're missing out at the moment. Why don't they all ride? I know I'm a high horse here.
I'm loving this because this is Brian saying, what you mean to do is not hold grudges.
No, but they do. Teams do, and that's.
And you don't.
That's in our sport. I try not to hold grudges to anybody at all, because you just get engulfed with it all. But it happens in bike racing. But it was clear that you had Jumbo-Visma were in trouble. They came up to the front and tried to help out, and then you had Bahrain with 2 riders. And then no one else helped, and now they're being forced to do it.
Just look at this. Maximum 18.4%. It's an average of 9%. This is the Gulperberg. It's an absolute nightmare. So if you're struggling before you actually got to this point, you're really going to struggle after it. And look at Tadej Pogačar just almost drifting up, and here we go. Here's the chase, and this is where you've got to go all in, Brian. It's a great point to do it. If you can cope with this, go for it.
Yep, there's 2 things here. Either they go across. If they don't go across and they don't succeed, then it's over. They've killed a lot of hopes here. And Mollema here trying as hard as he can. Schmid is there, but they have to have a group to go across to this group in front. So this is the last chance to get across to the front of the race now. Do they have the legs? Doesn't look as if they have.
42 seconds. Well, you saw that Pogačar came to the front with Lutsenko, 2 on stellar form and on that kind of incline. Lutsenko's gone to the back here, and Pogačar's continuing to push on. They know they'll be being told that there is action behind them to try and close this gap. They kick on themselves. This constant little bit of heartbreak here, it's almost a teasing of the chase. The clock is all over the place. 42 seconds not that long ago, suddenly down to 24. And then they'll kick on again, Brian. That's the way it goes. That was a tough climb, 9%, as you saw, with 18.4 as a maximum. Kreuzberg is next with their in 4.
Exactly, and you've got this group in front that have ridden up this climb. The group behind have raced up this climb. There's a big difference there. So they're just kind of riding up. Pogačar has eventually got his bottle from the side of the road. The reason being no team cars allowed in this kind of small gap. But they'll just roll over the top here, get organised, start to increase the tempo again. The riders behind, they'll be in oxygen there. They've already ridden up at probably twice the speed of the riders in front here. But then this gap will start to grow out again.
Nasty descents. It's not the descents themselves, it's the turns you have to cope with that suddenly rear their heads, Brian.
Yeah, unfortunately we had one of the turns that took out a few riders, one being Nelson Paulus, which is a shame because I think he had the form, he would have been a feature in this race. But just look at the chase behind Carlton. There's the riders everywhere, gaps everywhere. I don't think there's enough firepower here, and they've already ridden up that climb very quickly, and as you say, the next one's coming up soon.
Excuse me, it is. Take a bottle where you can possibly get it. Just look at the names, though, that we've got within this group. It's absolutely spectacular. Thomas Pidcock, Magnus Sheffield. Great to have a teammate with you at a moment such as this, although Tom has been doing a lot of work. for himself as well, and they're rolling off and over the front, and Mate Mohoric decides that he's going to get his time trialling head on and try and bridge, and this is causing reactions from others as well who've missed the boat. It's a possible lifeboat that's being offered up here. What will be the reaction of those out front, Brian?
Yeah, well, other team leaders have been forced into doing that now, but did you notice there that Mohoric went and Matteo Trentin just looked to the side, well, go and do it yourself, son. I'm happy kind of sitting here, but he reacted when Tish Minute went there. Yep. So it's important to have teammates there. They just kind of follow. Again, Alpecin, I've got a rider there. Lotto Destiny, I've got a rider there in front. So they're just following. So it's really going to get under the skin of these team leaders. Tish Minute, unfortunately, Sobrero was there in the left-hand side with the long leggings in there. He punctured from this. He must be smarting, but Mohoric gone, Bennett gone. It's all like fits and starts. But a lot of these teams that are following here already have a rider in front.
Well, there's a lot of disruptors here as well, as you can see. Trenton's just trying to squirrel back and get involved right now. A couple from UE Team Emirates, which is great news for them. Ryan Gibbons. 21 seconds is the gap now. And it's Healy that sets the pace, and on a straight road they'll have sight of them now, Brian. If you get a long shot, they will be they'll have vision of those out front. 20 seconds only. It is bridgeable, but at what cost? That's the point.
But the thing is, Mohoric went there, and then you had Benut and now Schelling there, but a lot looking behind. Trenton is not going to ride. He's got Pogacar in front, the Dutch champion coming. There's a lot of disruptors, as to pinch your word, behind. So are they able to come across on their own? No, they aren't. So Ida Schelling knows he's got two passengers. Other passengers are just about to come. It's as far as I'm concerned, I know it's only 23 seconds. It's doable, but I think the firepower is up the road and not in this group.
Precisely. Pidcock with Sheffield. Vermeersch, Pogacar, Healy, Genietz, Lutsenko, Kron, Zingler, Van Tricht are those out front. 10 they number at the moment. Shame for Ida Schelling that he's had some fantastic performances so far this year as Schelling, and he's got a bit of a kick on him as well. He also copes with the ramps. It would have been absolutely ideal kind of day for him, possibly in support of Sergio Higuita, but Schelling not to be discounted, but I think he would have needed to be in the front group. Had he been here, it would have been a worry, I think, for some of these guys, and it was clearly his battle plan as well for today. Unfortunately, he's messed it. It was down to 18 seconds, it's back out to 24. And again, a lack of cohesion in the chase. Everyone's giving it a go, Brian. Schelling doggedly, but unfortunately for him, he's got a big hound upon his back wheel here who's going to do absolutely nothing, Matteo Trentin. And in fact, if Schelling does manage to bridge over, Trentin's had a freebie.
Exactly. He's going to get a free ride across. But, in front, they're doing, just under threshold efforts going through and off. But behind, it's intervals. Stop-start stuff. So it's anybody that trains it's a kind of threshold level or does intervals know that intervals hurts a lot more than riding at threshold. So these riders are using a lot more energy than they possibly would want to at this stage of the race.
Ida Schelling, poor lad, just being chewed up at the moment. Got himself that win in the Basque Country. Spectacularly so. It was a lumpy day, that as well. Beat the likes of David Gaudu. Aaron Burrow is also here, by the way. Brian McNulty in the run to Liza.
Oh, problem. There it is.
At last, this is his bike change. Has he got enough time to do this? Oh, every second counts.
Waiting for a long time for his team car to come up.
Exactly. Finally got there.
Change your bike.
I don't know how he managed it, but it's been a difficult process. Now then, oh my goodness, look at him go. Like the blue touch paper and away. Let's see how long it takes him to bridge over. 20 seconds. It's not that they are trying to hurt Pogacar at a moment such as this. Here comes Trentin now, and he's going to try and leave Ida Schelling behind. Trentin just kicks on here. Schelling's going to struggle on this climb. Trentin knows exactly that. He's gone into Glasgow mode. More on that in a moment as he tries to bridge up and possibly offer some help to this man. Trentin almost got slingshot into a position where he was able to offer himself potentially to Tadej Pogačar. If Trentin does get back in here, Pogačar's got a teammate who can start taking the big turns on the front. And Pogačar's just about got in, has a check over his shoulder, wonders whether indeed Trentin's going to make it. He'll give him a nod in a few moments' time. And, oh, big cost for Kwiatkowski right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of riders suffering former winner there, but how easy was that? Glance
Amazing.
around Trentin. Look, mate, I don't need you, right? I can do this myself, but thanks for trying. He seems to be in complete control at the moment
of everything. Well, let's see. So another band of brothers try and close this gap. It's 24 seconds, 23 as detailed. It's a heartbreaker for anyone who happens to be in the same era, I think, of Tadej Pogačar, the way he's riding. We'll see whether the bike is to his liking. He's not been happy, and for a man who's not been happy with his bike, Brian, he's been doing quite a bit of work.
Yeah, well, it's taken a long time for the car to come up. Just goes to show you that if you've got any problem. But he was patient.
Yep.
But Baggioli was coming up there with Benoit, Alexander Kamp as well. So there is a bit of reaction, but I feel it's last saloon.
Nasty corner, a little bit of padding. That seems extremely modest. It's almost like somebody put a duvet on the side of the road. But anyway, it looked like it was more of a hamper than anything else. Don't know what was contained within it. Let's see if there's a gentleman's relish performance today, shall we? Sorry about that. Isa Bogsveg then with 8.1%, and then we have the Kuttenberg. And by the time we're dealt with that, even... Do you know what? I keep looking at the gap and thinking, 18 seconds, it's nearly done. And then all of a sudden, boom, it'll be 30 seconds before you know it. Healy's having a great ride, isn't he? He's having a great time of the year.
Well, all the weight now on his shoulders for EF Education.
Yep.
Easy post, and he can deliver. He's already delivered this week. Really strong performer, and you just have to think about smart duck and dive a little bit, but... he's in the best possible place. Looks like most of these riders, or at least 10 of them anyway, are going to get top 10 performance here. But it'll be interesting to see the group behind, because Baggioli was trying. Soudal do have Stan van Tricht in this group. But Benoit was also there, Camp for the Tudor, the Danish champion as well. But 20 seconds, a couple of looks behind, but it's going to be still a very difficult effort to come across to the front of this race.
Isa Bogsveg, maximum of 17.4%, so an average of 9.4. But even as an average, that's eye-watering, especially at the sort of pace that we're dealing with. And 253 kilometres in total. I mean, Brian, we've already done over 200 kilometres, for goodness sake. No wonder there's some tired legs and minds here.
And it's been a hard one.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting group, this one, with Tadej Benoit here, Alexander Kamp, Baggioli's there. I think that information will be getting up to Pogačar. He doesn't want any of the other favourites going. Lysenko's win, so I think they'll want to kind of try and push this out a little bit over the top of this climb, make sure that nobody comes across, but it is a really nice 5 or 6 rider group just behind.
I think Kostov was there as well.
No, I don't think he is.
Let's have another double look. Matty Morich and Pascal Incorn also just fine. Oh, hello.
Sheffield's gone.
He has, but check this out, Pogačar on the bike that he likes, or more to his liking, I should say, and now he's decided that maybe this group needs to be fractured a little bit. Fantastic, Pogačar versus Pidcock at the moment. Here comes Healy, Lutsenko. That quartet, they've been in the engine room, Brian, and they're showing it right now, but there's 2 over the top by the looks of things. And look at the gaps just starting to open up here. This is magnificent.
It is. This is what, we knew Pogačar was going to try and do, and why do it? Why not do it? And one of the hardest climbs of the race. And I did say he doesn't want any passion. He doesn't want any others coming up to the front.
Well, we said it was going to start to get tough, and the Isa Bogsveg, eyes watering, and Tadej Pogačar with Tom Pidcock, 2 principal favourites at the beginning of the day, and they happen to find themselves in each other's pockets. That's Healy bridging over.
I hope he does.
So do I. How fabulous would that be? Lutsenko just rolling a little bit, possibly the fatigue of Sicily now finally showing itself in his legs.
He's doing it.
It's fabulous. Well, Healy gets in, and chapeau to him. That was absolutely magnificent.
It was good effort here. I really do think that Lysenko will come across as well. He seems to have a bit of a passenger, but everybody's on our kind of hands and knees, especially after an acceleration there from Pogacar.
Cron's no slouch, though, useful. Fourth in Miguel Indurain. Came out of the box really well at the Ruta del Sol, beginning of the year. And a useful rider to have at a moment such as this, but only if he works with you, I guess. And at the moment, Lutsenko's having to do much of the chasing, and this looks like a yawning gap posted by Pogacar. This is fabulous. Tom Pidcock stayed with him, and all credit to Ben Healy for making the trip. Love that.
Yep, he got caught out a little bit, maybe a little bit too far behind. But Ben Healy made amends over the top of that climb and just getting his breath back. While we look back, and we are now seeing that Thijs Benoot and the group that was coming across just catching the back of the remnants of that breakaway now.
It's a very modest gap, isn't it, as the Danish champion just hits the front here.
Yeah, Alexander Kamp was in that group of Thijs Benoot.
Yeah, drifts off the front, I should say.
Ida Schelling is there, so I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say this. There's fresh legs there, because I think everybody is on their limits at the moment, and it looks as if Cron and Lysenko not far off this group, but can they make the last kind of 20-30 metres?
Let's see. It's a modest advantage, but then again, I've seen gaps pared down to 5, 6 and 7 seconds just suddenly expand. And when Tadej Pogacar is prepared to do this, he's got such confidence, Brian, that he easily displays at moments such as this. Just wondering whether it would actually be to their benefit to allow Lutsenko to get back in here, but it's kind of like free rein for Tadej Pogacar, because he doesn't fear anybody or any scenario, so he can almost be relaxed in whatever is thrown up.
Yeah, he seems relaxed. Just asking Ben Healy to come through and kind of do a turn. Ben has made a big effort there, so he just wants to try and recover. I do think that Lysenko and Cron will make it up. Now we're on the kind of flatter part here, but Pidcock, that was a hard effort there to go with Pogacar, but Pogacar looking so strong at the moment, as he has done pretty much from the start of the year.
Next climb is the Keutenberg, and we've got this little bit of flat road here. You can see the high ground. It's all been cut by rivers, some of which have been turned into, as you can see, water pools. The Netherlands is absolutely fantastic at draining land that in other nations would be useless. Actually, no swamps, they just drain them all and use them. Meanwhile, this man, almost a monster from the swamp, isn't he? He's just rearing his head, and they just keep coming. This is not a categorised climb that we are on at the moment.
That's not what the chasers wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go, climbing anyway. But this is not a categorised climb, would you believe? Certainly not in my book anyway. Looks like one. And you think in the Netherlands this would probably be detailed as Everest. But yeah, this part of the world, Limburg, where Germany meets Belgium meets the Netherlands. It's a little memorial actually as part of the course which details that. It's the Fromberg. So, apologies, my guide just out, but I did think, hey, this is a climb, 8.5%. And 6 seconds the gap now back to the two chasers. I'd love a gap back to the bigger group with Thijs Benoot. Haven't got it just yet. Asking for a turn here. Cron says no. Lysenko is just going to have to suck it up and go for it. Tadej Pogacar gets a bike change, gets a bottle. I noted actually that they actually I didn't note. I wanted to ask myself the question whether they'd already prepped the bike with bottles before they actually took it off. I don't think they did. So an extra second or two lost here. But nonetheless, here he goes. And look at the drive that he's putting in here, Brian. He does not want Lutsenko back in this.
No, I think it's not just that. I think he's trying to hurt the other ones as well. He wants to hurt everybody today. And I don't think he's too worried about Lysenko and Cron. If they're dropped now, then I did think at one stage they would get back in. But when Pogacar's in this mood, nobody's getting back. He's not interested in anybody getting back. I think that little test there was for Ben Healy more than anything else. It's still not, Pidcock is looking strong, Pogacar strong as well. Healy is just hanging on. He knows at this moment in time, if he said, will you take third in the podium, he would grab it with both hands. So it's just a survival mode for Ben Healy more than anything. But for Lysenko and Kron, I did think they'd make it back, but this climb just came at the wrong time for them. And the fact that Pidcock and especially Tadej Pogacar are wanting to push on, they just want to kind of, I think Pogacar wants to do this as a solo effort to the finish.
I agree. The way he won Flanders, that margin, it was 16 seconds in the end ahead of Van der Poel, who led in Mads Pedersen.
55 seconds.
Wow, that is a heartbreak there. I think, to be honest, being so close at hand, Brian, for Lutsenko, kind of kept them believing. He asked for a turn from Andy Kron, it didn't happen, and then all of a sudden we see a gap of nearly a minute. It's all over.
Yeah, it's just,
wow.
They were forced into it. The leaders were forced into doing a little bit of work themselves. The race was up the roads. This all happened at 90 kilometres to go, Carlton. And then as maybe me, I'll take the blame for this one, Carlton, that just that the teams in between not kind of really helping each other and not bringing the gap to the original kind of 16 or 15 riders back. So they were coming up as one team. I'll let you do it. No, you do it. No, I'll do it. All that sort of stuff. Never got their act together, the teams behind, and this is the result.
It's going to have to be a pre-season conference between teams. What do we do about the problem that is Tadej Pogacar? Because at the moment, when he wants to turn it on, even when he had issues, Brian, he didn't have issues because he's got so much power.
Well, to have that bike change, and I think it was almost to perfection. It was probably the slickest bike change, maybe not the best, slickest at that stage of the race. The fact that he'd had to wait so long and to do it at the bottom of a climb. Yeah. Some people say, why not do it at the top? Well, it's somebody like Tadej Pogacar, the gap is so small on a steep climb like that, so change very quickly, bang, push, got in over the top, and then the next one he thought, well, that just warmed me up a little bit, I'm just going to do it all over again and see who comes with me. And he's got two riders, and I think Ben is doing the right thing in here. Just don't annoy them, just do a turn as much as you can, and potentially a podium place for him.
Don't prod the tiger with a stick, goodness sake. We'll just lose the stick. Look at the gap, minute and 4. 12 seconds now to the almost forlorn Lutsenko. We've still got 30 kilometres to go, for goodness sake, and it's only 11 seconds, 9 now. And he must be thinking to himself, what have I got to do to get back at these guys? If Pogacar makes this as difficult as he possibly can for the chase, which is Lutsenko and Kron, he's got a minute and 3 on everybody else, all the pre-race favourites. And there's that group 3 of chasers. Vermeersch, Benoot, Jai Hindley's in there as well. And Zingler was up in the front group. Geniet's likewise. Camp also. They've collected a lot of riders who are out front. Well, they're not out front anymore because the man who is, and is going to have to take on most of the duty here, is, of course, Tadej Pogacar. Tom Pidcock rolls through. Pidcock took Strade Bianchi. Pogacar, of course, spectacularly Flanders recently. It's almost, you keep detailing things that he's won this year, and it's already a long list, for goodness sake. Ben Healy staying with, and not having too many demands placed upon him. Won't be tired, anyone who takes Ben Healy lightly, especially on the sort of form that he's on at the moment. But it's great to see him up here. He's making us talk about him, and that's a great thing. Tadej Pogacar flicks the arm out. Pidcock doesn't come through. Now he looks back as if to say, come on, you're going to have to work with me just a little bit if you want to have some fun today. But Pidcock is having none of it. There's a bit of a poker game going on at the moment.
Yeah, it's a kind of difficult situation. Pogacar is in the place that he wants to be. Pidcock, I think he would take this all day long as well. It's been a hard event. This is always a difficult race, and you know, climb after climb, there's no rest whatsoever. And you see Ben Healy here, every kind of steep climb here, he's struggling a little bit, and Pogacar putting the power down yet again. He's not giving them any respite at all. He wants to kill them.
Well, it's almost like he's stepping on the windpipe, isn't it? The oxygen pipe here, and just throttling the belief out of them apart from anything else. Healy just stamping on the pedals at the moment, just losing touch, as you can see. 3 bike lengths, 4 bike lengths, and Pogacar still driving on. Pidcock staying with it, but he's out of the saddle, back in it, back in the saddle, and there he goes. And Pogacar says, "See ya, I'm out of here," with 28.5 kilometres to go. And there, the elastic snaps. Oh my life! Pidcock is in destruction mode at the moment. Oh, he's twisted the little handle, he's pressed the red button, and here he goes. Keutenberg, 700 metres, 9.4%, but more than that, some real areas of suffrage, I'm afraid, struggling. I think for these guys, suffering is amazing. And there is Ben Healy, accomplished rider, Pidcock as well. You know, when you know what he's done this year, and look at where Pogacar is, soon out of sight.
Incredible yet again, Pogacar, and now you have to think, what's the best solution here? And because you know that Pidcock's a winner and he wants to try and win the race, but you know, there's a few strong riders not that far behind. Ben Healy's made it up, so that's a good thing. There's 2 against 1, but I still think that Pogacar has got the strength to do this one alone. But I know Ben wasn't given much help beforehand, what he can do now, but this lad is just flying again, isn't he? He's been flying the Slovenian flag all year long, and it doesn't look as if he's really, really struggling.
You know, with that quartet of hills so far away from the finish, Brian, the view was that really this wouldn't be decisive, but that looks like a decisive move to me.
Do you think so?
He just doesn't respect.
He's ridden
any predictions.
I know we've you know, we've got quality riders in this race. Pogacar has just ridden them off the wheel today. And you could argue the question, when in that group of 16, why did everybody ride? Well, everybody wants to try and win the race, and it's automatically you'll ride. When you look back and say the favourite there, you want the best result, and that was a good situation. I said at the time that it's a good situation for everybody to ride, and that's why they have ridden. But when Pogacar is in destruction mode, there's no stopping him at all. He's not even bothered looking back. He's fine. You know, just leave him alone. He likes to ride out front like this. Leave him alone, and the others will just have to settle for the minor places.
Well, with 18.6 kilometres to go, he's going to be on the Coburg. It could almost be the start of a victory lap. This is remarkable. Well, he's going to hit the Coburg alone, Brian, and it's going to be the longest time for him to think about how he wants to celebrate.
You've got Pogacar in the front. You've got the duo of Healy and Pidcock. You got another duo of Lysenko and Andreas Kron, and then you've got the peloton.
And here they are, 90 seconds down, but a minute and a half. It's just brutal. They've got the gift, of course, of being able to work together, and don't be surprised if podium places come from this group in the end, Brian, because the man who's in control of everyone's destiny has gone, and that's got to be heartbreak for the chase.
Yeah, it's how you manage. It's what you want out the race.
Exactly.
Is Pidcock and Healy, do they want to finish second and third? I think at this moment they'll take this. They realise the strongest rider is in front, but they want to kind of risk things as well. It does look as if Lysenko and Kron are kind of moving further back now, so I think for Ben Healy and Tom Pidcock, it's in their best interest. Just stay together. They know the strongest man is in front. Even if they come back, he's going to drop them again. So just make sure that you stay away from the rest. And a podium in a race like this is, a lot of teams will take that at the start of the day.
What a remarkable rider. And, as if it hasn't been said before, Healy and Pidcock exchanging duties, sitting at a margin of 13 seconds, 15 now, as Pogacar just continues to drive away. It was of that trio, it was Healy that was tailed off, excuse me, and then Pidcock tried to stay with Pogacar. Pogacar was having none of it. There's nothing more than he likes, Brian, other than displaying his prowess, and it's got to have a psychological impact as well. Riders must begin races when Pogacar's in it just wondering how to unfathom him. He's so in control of his destiny. When earlier on he had Trent in offering to bridge over to him, and he basically just said, no problem, I'm fine. But great to have Trent in there. This is what I was saying, he kind of almost makes his own team look like they're not helping him. They are, but we haven't been able to see much of that today. We didn't have the race, unfortunately, provided to us from the beginning. Otherwise, we would have actually started with live coverage right from the flag. But he makes everyone look like there's something missing. And sometimes, unfortunately, even for his own team, who've been extremely strong, I've seen races where he's actually go back for them.
He has, but he races like he trains alone because no one will train with him.
They can't keep up with him. 12 seconds. I don't think they're going to bridge it. The thing they've got to be worried about, that group at 1:46 now. It's heading up to the 2-minute margin, and that's an indicator of how hard Pogačar is pushing, how determined to hold on to the margin is Pidcock with Healy, in hand with Healy. And here is Pogačar. After a bike change, which he'd asked for, the margin wasn't there for him to be able to accept it, but finally he got there with...
He had to wait a long time, though, because to get a team car through on those small roads, because he was needing that bike change, and what the commissaires will do, will try and kind of help out, because nothing Shimano can do. They can change a wheel of it, but he needed a spare. But we could see that he wasn't happy for many kilometres, and they managed to do that. Whether the team car is taking a kind of shortcut or whatever it is to try and get in front, to manoeuvre that team car there takes a bit of skill, and they were able to do that eventually.
I don't think they were on the course. I think they arrived at the course for the exchange and then left.
But they're only allowed one team car, so it would have been in the race, and you don't really want to. You can take small kind of shortcuts, but you can't take big ones, because you have to be in the race route, and you can only receive a bike from the car behind. It's not as if they can receive it from the side of the road, otherwise it's a DQ, but it took a long while to get through. You have to be very patient. Commissaires have obviously helped. I know it was only a short gap between them at that time, but they did it, and it looks as if they were successful.
A little bit of moisture upon the lens here. We've seen some standing water as well. Rather helpfully, some of the crowd were just indicating to Tadej Pogačar a short while ago that he should take a wide corner, and I think it's on this one as they come up to the rise. Is this the right-hander in a few moments' time? I think it will be. Let's see. They were sort of indicating, sort of pushing flat hands out to take this corner, give it a wide berth because of puddles on the other side. Now I think it's well behind us now. At 23 kilometres to go then, Tadej Pogačar we've not seen hide nor hair of. Neither has anybody else, Brian. He's gone.
He has. I think I saw Sonny Colbrelli at the side of the road there. If anybody's watching, let me know, because I know that he's working with the team. I just thought he was standing at the side of the road with the bottles there. So Sonny Colbrelli no longer racing because of the problems with his heart. Such an incredible rider and former winner of that great muddy Paris-Roubaix.
And a really, really nice guy as well, I have to say, off the bike. Fabulous. 22.6 kilometres to go for this man. So with 16 kilometres remaining after the Coburg, which is coming up actually in 4, he will deal with that effectively. Follows the Keutenberg, which we have enjoyed and endured. This is starting to look painful. I don't think Healy can give quite the exchange that Pidcock hopes for, but the gap's gone out to 18 seconds. It's almost doubled.
By the looks of things, they've stripped that out there. I was just wondering, Lusenko and Kron have come from nowhere, but they've stripped that out now.
Yep.
So the Group 4 still just under 2 minutes, so they kind of held there. Although they all seem to be riding, but 8-9 riders riding at the same speed as the man in front alone. I think Ben Healy and Tom Pidcock, they just want to try and stay away. Podium places up for grabs in this race. They'll take all day long, and the points that go with it.
Now, the Coburg used to feature at the very end of the race, was taken away, and a lot of people said it diminished the race, but we've had some such dramatic finales. It seems that the idea clearly had a benefit. We'll be heading for the Coburg, or at least first man to hit it will be Tadej Pogačar with just around 3 kilometres time. He'll be at the top of it, but it's 1,200 metres in length. And then we won't be doing it again because at the very last, within the last 16 kilometres, we'll be up the Guel Hemmerweg and then the Bemelerborg to finish the day off, as if the day hasn't already finished. What a remarkable rider. And I mean, it's hard to actually fathom how to beat him when he's in this kind of form. Yes, I know we haven't got Wout van Aert here, Van der Poel likewise. They're in preservation mode at the moment. But likewise, Evenepoel, as well as Van der Poel, occasionally those guys, when they're all together, may have well have offered something up. But when Pogacar's in this kind of form, I don't think anyone would have had the beating of him. Look what he's done to Pidcock, for goodness sake.
Yeah, no, in the Pidcock's defence, he hasn't had a great deal of racing. Remember, he had that concussion. Was it in Tirreno, and crashing out of that, and to be able to come back. So, but Healy has really kind of stepped up in the last week, even in the last kind of year or so. He's kind of stepped up. Nice to see him, and I hope he does kind of hang on to a podium here. But Pogacar, what can't he do? When you see him, he looks like a young kid, and he can win Grand Tours, he can win Cobbles Classics. He's come here, won Amstel, this is not an easy race to even to ride, because it's so left, right. There's so many hazards in this race, and you have to be really kind of switched on. I think the team have ridden great. What they wanted to do is just keep him out of trouble, keep it hard, and then it exploded with about 90 kilometres ago, was it? And I said it before he went, he just wants to ride and go solo, and that's what he's doing at the moment. And 21 seconds, 104. It's just, this race is all over the place today, and this possibly, in the years that I've known this race, this is probably one of the hardest editions of it. So to even get in the top 10, it's a creditable performance, and you have to credit Pidcock, because he went toe-to-toe with Pogacar there. He never shirked his workload. Ben shirked a little bit, and so he should, because he's really putting a big performance in there, and he's saving the day for EF Education, because Nelson Powers was involved with that crash.
He was. Less than 20 kilometres remaining. It's the final phase, and just about to hit the Coburg. In fact, I believe that Pogacar may well already be on it. Well, here we are. Similar scenario. You're looking at the chase at the moment to the margin of 23 seconds, and here we go. Listen to this. How fabulous is that?
Yeah, all the bars in the town have made a killing, and they always do. I still prefer this to be the finish. Some Irish supporters at the right-hand side there as well. They've kind of taken it beyond, but I think this was a fabulous finish, and the atmosphere always in that corner in the town here before you got up the Coburg. It was, really, really good, and it's nice to see the supporters have done this, because over the top, they'll stay here pretty much all day. This is where they wanted to see it, rather than go further up to the finish.
Indeed. Well, it's the last view that they're going to have, but a rapturous welcome. Indeed, reward, I think, for their efforts. This sort of support, Brian, it really spurs a rider on.
It does, no matter what nation you're in or who you are. We saw some flags that saw the Danish flags and Irish flag there and things like that, but that's what the supporters for cycling are like. They just enjoy it. No matter who you are, they'll just cheer you on. And very few times I've heard kind of boos for some riders. There was a team, particularly in the Alpe d'Huez, that had a little bit of that. But yeah, this was possibly about back there about 200-300 metres to go there. But yeah, it's a great atmosphere for sure.
the Coburg finished then, dealt with by Pogacar, who's just about to crest it, 1,200 metres in length, and here he is, and still the welcome is rapturous. Fantastic. There is the peak. Meanwhile, 2 minutes and 2.25 minutes is his advantage, Brian. He's just extending it.
Yeah, I think the duos between will want to try and potentially help each other, and when I say help each other, stay together, because it's in their best interest to have that other person with you, so that you can kind of use them in the last kind of 17-18 kilometres. Because if you go alone at this stage, then potentially you could, hit the wall, lose a lot of energy, and be caught by any of the groups behind, because it's still in the balance. But you can see now Pidcock not worried. I think he knows he can beat Healy in the sprints. Lusenko and Kron. Well, Kron, you've got to remember that Lotto Destiny have kind of dropped down the pecking order from World Tour team to Pro team. So this is a good result for them if they get top 5 in this race.
Well, it's tough for everybody, including Pogacar himself, let's not forget. This is a big distance that we're dealing with, over 253 kilometres. He's just about to come and take the bell. Sounds like a few cowbells are ringing. And I'm afraid these guys, I don't know. It's going to be minor places for them by the looks of things. There's no reason to believe that, having completed the toughest part of the race, that he can't just bring this home and deliver. Riding solo from around, I think it was about 87 kilometres out. We'll double check for you later on, but my life, what a performance by this man. This will be the bell for him for a modest lap, of which this race is made up of many, as we fight to stay in Limburg area and the hills that bedevil really the roads in this part of the world. And this man, well, you kind of just run out of ways to describe his dominance. Apart from anything else, a brave rider. And look at that, just heading back to the cars, and the gaps now are just starting to open up and allow service. There's the bell. And for whom does it toll? Upon everybody behind this man. It's absolutely remarkable, and the clock starts to define our gaps. Takes a turn, keep it nice and sensible. Just the camera bike here just dropping over some of the traffic calming devices as we head by the school, and must have been an education for everybody, hasn't it, since Tadej Pogacar just imposed himself on cycling. And that's the way of it, Brian. It is an imposition, really, isn't it? Even when he's disappointed, he comes back and wins.
Well, you will poke the bear. Last year's Tour de France, Jumbo-Visma, the Dutch team, did that. And, this is what happens when he comes back into their backyard.
Indeed. Showing him.
So don't poke the bear.
His back wheel. Yeah, I think they said the tiger earlier, but yeah, you're absolutely right. We still have the only hills remaining, actually. We have the Gol Hemmerweg, kilometre in length, and then the Bemelaborg, and then he can come home and get himself a well-deserved, rather large glass of Amstel Gold.
Yeah, whether he takes it or not, we'll wait and see. He refused the Friets after the run by Vlaanderen, but let's see. But I think he'll want to kind of relax a little bit after this. But there's still an opportunity here for the other minor places, and I do hope that Ben Healy and Pidcock will take, and that would be some podium as well, and some effort from Ben Healy, and I think really deserved.
Oh, I'd love it. Let's see. They'll probably end up spending it out. I think if Healy is going to take it from Pidcock, second place that is, behind Tadej Pogacar, I think he's going to have to try and go long, but that's a hard thing. But then again, you just don't know. At the end of a race so grueling as this, it's hard to really take account of what remains in a rider's tank.
Well, what remains of the peloton is coming through the
amazing, isn't it?
The finishing line now.
Good riders these as well, Brian, let's not forget.
Next to see Alexander Kamp up there, the Danish champion. Jai Hindley coming through, Baggioli. He's a capable rider. Thijs Benoot, Shell Mods. There's a plethora of top quality riders in this group. I just think that some of the teams, the way that they never contributed to the chase in the middle of the race, or the middle of the final part of the race, it didn't help things. But I think this was always going to happen anyway, Carlton.
I think so. The way he used his team at the beginning of the race was basically to tee himself up for this. I didn't expect him to go quite so long. I think it was with respect to those who were around him, Brian, that he had to attack early.
Well, it has its own problems, this race. The nature of the climbs, a little bit of kind of road furniture. It's always, you know, you come to this race, you're always wanting a little bit kind of good luck, because in the past there has been a little bit of bad luck. I've raced around these roads, I've ridden this race, and I know firsthand that it can be a difficult task. But, you know, I think he's wanting to whittle things down really early to make sure that there's no mishaps.
Check this out, Ben Healy. Well, I said he'd probably want to go long. He's got a bit of a time trialling head about him as well. And this is an attempt to shake off Pidcock at the moment and become runner-up, and it looks like it may well have stuck. Let's wait and see. Pidcock has to regather himself right now, but Healy has gapped him. And with 13.3 kilometres to go, my goodness, well, we did say that perhaps a sprint for a podium place may well come from the group behind, and I hope for Tom Pidcock, who's had a tough season since his, of course, concussion within Tirreno Adriatico. Kept him off the bike, and that was extraordinarily unfortunate. But Healy has gone. He's thrown the coop. This is fantastic. Come on, Ben.
Well, he could only do it in the climb, couldn't he? Because Tom has been ridden quite strongly so far in this race, and you know, I think coming back, it was just, you know, maybe a little bit too early for him, but good to see him up at the pointy end. But Ben just never gives up, does he? If it was going to come down to a sprint, then, you know, my house would have been on Pidcock anyway.
Indeed.
But this is Ben's chances, and you know, he doesn't want to kind of settle for just a podium place. He wants second. You have to feel for Pidcock, though. He's put a lot into today, and looking at that effort there, he just has to manage his effort now if he wants to kind of hold on to the podium, because it looks as if he's very close to his limit.
Well, you can find it at any time. Love watching Tom Pidcock as well. He's just beguiling. His performance at Strade Bianche was, gosh, it moved a lot, including myself, to tears, to be honest. It was just brilliant. But this is not going to be his day. In fact, it's not going to be anybody's day apart from Tadej Pogačar. So it's about minor places for some. Well, we're going to check on those riders who have won the Tour de France and indeed the Amstel Gold Race, and it's a select group, as you'd expect. This is Tom Pidcock. We saw Kwiatkowski, who was not in the best of shape earlier on today. Magnus Sheffield was up there with Tom Pidcock, so he had that as a foil. But just look at what Healy is doing right now. This is very spirited. And Ben Healy, that camera bike's giving him a proper bow wave at the moment. But Pogačar's waved goodbye to absolutely everybody. He's on... and here we are. These the riders who've won the Tour and then the Amstel Gold Race afterwards. Bjarne Riis, Zoetemelk, Bernardino, and of course Eddie Merckx between 73 and 75. The punk years, or just about. What company for this man, eh?
Yeah, extremely high level company, but you can see that the last one with Bjarne Riis a long time ago, in my era in the 90s.
Indeed. I like Bjarne Riis because basically I'm his lookalike. Sort of like I look like his security. 24 seconds. Ben Healy is... I'm wondering whether this is Tadej Pogačar just taking it at his own pace here, but Healy's driving into the gap. It's fantastic.
Yes, he's looking for that second place, isn't he? Yep. He doesn't want Pidcock coming back, so that's his motivation. I'm pretty sure that Tom Southam in the car behind with Matty Brescia are giving him plenty of motivation. But like you say, it does look as if Pogačar is just kind of managing his effort a little bit more.
Well, this is remarkable. After runner-up in the Brammerspiel, ended up in a two-up sprint with Dorian Godin, who's crashed today, by the way, for AG2R Citroën. He's come into this race with a great deal of belief, and he's showing that now. Good display.
Yeah, I think it gave him a lot of confidence come to the final with Godon. Very difficult race and difficult conditions, and good to see him. Really kind of stepping up today, because this is his, I think, in my book, his best performance so far. He actually went with the top riders, and just when we thought he was really kind of struggling, he's managed his efforts. Sometimes in these races, if you get allowed to kind of duck and dive a little bit, then it's in the best interests.
Well, I don't know what words were passed here from the Shimano car, but 20 seconds now as Healy pushes back to Tadej Pogačar. 19 seconds, he's closing the gap. If it comes down to a sprint, I think you're probably back Tadej Pogačar, of course, but let's see.
Given us some interest. The race director's car a little bit too close at the moment. Probably just dropped
view,
back.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit dropped back there to maybe give some time gaps. You've got to remember that with these small gaps now, the team cars are nowhere. But look at to Pidcock now 40 seconds, but Ben Healy doing an exceptional ride here, riding into this gap.
No, he did a hexagon round that corner, checked and checked again.
I think that's what he's worried about more. He's worried more about Pidcock than anything else. Yeah. That's what the glance was to the left-hand side.
Indeed.
He wants to guarantee the second place.
Well, there's Pogačar's car. We'll be able to stretch out in that a little bit later on. Most of it's for trophies. This is... That looked like a tram line he went over. Healy as Pogačar now checks over his shoulder and kicks on just a little bit. I was asking what the gap was. It had come down to about 18 seconds, but Healy wanted to put as much gap between himself and indeed Tom Pidcock as he possibly can, with 8.7 kilometres to go. Climbing, Brian, is what defines this day, but it's going to feel like much of the, well, all of the worst is behind them at the moment. It's we have the Bemelerberg still to come, and then it'll be a run for home for this man, as if that hadn't already started some time ago.
Yeah, it started, about 30 odd kilometres ago on the run for home, but
best, yeah.
We're used to seeing him doing that. Still, the race director's car
needs to get out of there.
Yeah, needs to push forward a little bit more.
Well, an aero advantage from a car in front of you is still there with about 50 metres margin. An aero from a car chasing you, it has a bow effect, it pushes the air. It's still significant, even at around about 30. It starts to affect from around about 30 metres, significant from 10 metres. So that's getting on for 30 feet in old money. So yeah, you've got to be careful about vehicles hanging around. Even in individual time trials, we started to see the profile of vehicles just starting to be magnified by racking up lots and lots of bikes, as if a rider needed a choice of 10 to magnify that effect. And this camera bike as well is also punching a hole in the air for Tadej Pogačar.
It's not his fault.
It's not his fault. It's nothing to do with him. Yeah, exactly.
This is what happens in races, and it has a massive outcome in some races more so than others. But the worry for me is now with Pidcock at 49 seconds. Where is Lysenko and Kron?
.25 seconds back to Ben Healy, and the final climb of this Amstel Gold Race. Well, it's a different outcome to those we've had. We've been used to photo finishes in this one, Brian, or indeed even majestic performances from distance and sprint finishes. We're not going to get one today by the looks of things.
No, we'll 100% get a photo finish, but there won't be millimetres between it. There'll be, half a minute. I just like the way he went up to. He asked for the time gap in the car, and he went back. And he went, "What? Ben Healy's 19 seconds behind. Oh, better start pressing on a bit now."
Love that. Well, a place for cave dwellers of old, troglodytic. But this man, goodness me, he's hiding absolutely nowhere, is he?
Another barb that makes a fortune once a year.
Indeed. 6.6 kilometres to go. He's nearly done the job. It'll be a question of margin, and Healy is now coming back into the clutches of Pidcock by the looks of things. If they do come back together after that climb, that will have been Healy struggling on the last climb, I reckon, Brian, after all the effort he put into closing the gap. Here he is.
Yeah, he's trying hard. Toto trying hard as we pass the hotel here, where everybody's been there pretty much all day drinking Amstel. But I still think that Ben's got a super opportunity here. Be interesting to see. We try and kind of pan back where Pidcock is, and there he is.
Still got to come by the Hotel Bergrust. We may as well give it its credit.
That's more than 10 seconds because he's not even at the hotel.
Indeed. Well, he's just about to take that. Yeah, I think that clock may well.
This is now interesting because they're not far behind Pidcock now. I think there's possibly maybe 20, 30 seconds.
I'm not sure. I think the clock's just slightly in arrears at the moment, but. One thing is absolutely certain, and that is that Tadej Pogačar is bringing this one home. How often has we said it, Brian, and how many more times this season even?
Yeah, well, I don't know what his race schedule is after this.
I'm just having a quick look, actually. Flèche Wallonne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Tour of Slovenia, of course, always love watching him there. And then the Tour de France, so big gap.
I was about to say if any riders are listening, maybe want to avoid those races, but everybody wants to ride the Tour de France. But yeah, it's can he do we start thinking about the triple? You have to, don't you?
Well, why not? The way he's riding at the moment.
Amstel, Flèche,
others are resting up in order to take him on.
He's incredible, isn't he?
Yep.
Incredible. There's a team car going up. And just I want to say thanks, Andy Verrill. World Tour races, they allowed 2 cars. But I think the concern earlier on was that the fact that they allowed it in within 30 seconds. That's what happens when you're a special rider sometimes. The commissary allow that to happen. And I think they get away with it because there was no incidents.
No, exactly that. There are some opportunities as well in it. The race organisers, especially on a race like this, they know exactly where the broader roads are as well. Could be parked up.
He's looking around again.
I know, he's still. Where has he gone? Well, he's gone back to 46-second margin. That's the point. I'm just wondering whether G2 now is indeed Healy and Pidcock together.
No, I think that's Pidcock. It has to be Pidcock 3 because 4 is Lysenko and Kron. I don't think that far behind Pidcock.
Go on, Ben, they're shouting. Love it. Lots of Brit fans have made the trip. 4.4 kilometres remaining then for this man, Tadej Pogačar. Well, thanks for your company today. Possibly not
finished yet.
Not the most dramatic of endings for this one, but you know, you can't have it all, especially when this man is helping himself to the cake and eating it, it seems. There'll be a few crumbs knocking around for others, but when Tadej Pogačar is in this kind of mood, there's absolutely no stopping him. It doesn't matter what the race. You saw what he did in Flanders, and he'll possibly be going on to do it as well in Flèche Wallonne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Slovenia is kind of a homecoming for him, naturally enough. He usually takes it easy during that race until he has to impose himself, which he usually does.
Doesn't he play his game of rock, paper, scissors?
That's it, yeah. Fabulous. Love seeing that. Oh, he's even got a fiddler off the roof there. In acclamation of the great man. And let's take a moment to acclaim this man as well. Ben Healy, what a strong performance. Back-to-back strong performances. Runner-up in the Brabant Spiel. Hits the 4 kilometre to go marker. Only 500 metres between himself and Tadej Pogačar. He can take a great deal of credit for that.
He can. You know, when you've got the form at the right time, and Ben Healy obviously has that with his results he's had in the week. I'm just looking down to see when the Palmares. Do I think we've had an Irish winner of the race at all? I'm just looking to see if there's been anybody on the podium in this race, because we could be witnessing a little bit of history.
Podium-wise, Roach not get on there? Oh, well. Minute and 51 is the gap back to the Lutsenko group, and there they're giving you the margins as well. Oh, he's taking it very sensibly. Don't want to throw it away in the mud at the side of the road at a moment such as this. But yeah, Tadej Pogačar won Flanders. He was disappointed to finish in third place in the E3. Milan-San Remo fourth, of course. But you know, he's a man who knows how to bide his time. He's kind of learned to deal with some spectacular races, and he's a quick learner, of course, because he's still very much a young man. 24 years of age, doesn't turn 25 until September, for goodness sake. Tadej Pogačar in his pomp. We say it so often. Paris-Nice going his way this year, and indeed the Ruta del Sol. Brian's got his thumb up.
Yeah, I don't say this very often, but you're right. Going back to 1982, Stephen Roche was second. And that's the only podium that Ireland have had. So,
Steve, you owe me a drink.
They're equaling the great Stephen Roche. Ben Healy, go on, son.
There we are. So Ben Healy.
Sean Kelly finishing in 1980 in third.
Yeah.
So he's up there with the greats of Irish cycling.
He is. Fantastic. Meanwhile, what do you say about this man that hasn't already been said?
I'm Googling what new words. Everybody's been pogified today.
Rewritten the script almost constantly, hasn't he? As dominant performance, particularly in this race, which is known for its photo finishes. And, all right, select photo finishes over the last couple of years, but 3 years ago, I guess unpredictability is what this race is all about, and in a certain regard, maybe that's happened again today.
So we've got Slovenian history here with Pogačar. First Slovenian to win, equaling Irish history as well. So it's been a good day for both of these countries.
Well, he's got his tongue out. He's hungry for more. That's the thing about this man, Brian. He does not get sated at all. He's somebody who has a constant hunger for yet more, and everything he wins just seems to allow him to refocus on the next victory.
Do you know, that's the important thing. I think it's done him well to get beaten in the Tour de France last year. That's what I'm going to say, because it's poked the bear, and sometimes you have to poke the bear to get the best out of them, and we're seeing some of the best performances out of this man that he's done over the last few years.
Tadej Pogačar is bringing it home. Just listen to the fans here welcoming him. In fact, some of them are in shock. Tadej Pogačar, when he's in this kind of mood, there's absolutely no stopping him. And look at the way he's riding this one home as well. He wants a margin here. He wants the record books, and he's in that position where he can start to think about this. Here he is thanking his team. Perfectly delivered. Made sure that the breakaway was kept well within arm's reach. And then when he went, it was a question of who could stay with him. And in the end, the answer was absolutely nobody. The Amstel Gold Race, after 6 hours in the saddle on a really tough race with over 3,250 meters of altitude gain. He's sailed the heights yet again. He's dominated every single one of the peaks. And surely this man's career at the age of 24 is just going to roll on. Twice a winner of the Tour de France, and this season he just adds to what is already a fabulous roster. He has won the Amstel Gold. Ha! That's what he means to him. And the clock starts to roll and the bell does toll. My goodness, adding to the Tour of Flanders, Paris-Nice, the Ruta del Sol, still plenty more races to come. Flèche Wallonne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Slovenia and the Tour de France next up on his programme. But honestly, he is the director. He writes the script and he lives up to it. And applause ringing out here in the commentary position for this man, Ben Healy. Absolutely outstanding performance by the Irishman. Just doing it for EF Education Easy Post. Runner-up, no shame in that, Brian.
No, not against this man. I think all day long, everybody wants to win bike races, but when you're up against a phenomenal rider like this, second or a third, you'll take in a race like this.
Second in the Brabant Spiel, second in the Amstel Gold Race, and congratulations. How nice is that? Well, nice to see the UAE team as well offering up their congratulations, and we'll add ours as well to Tom Pidcock, doggedly determined, and Lutsenko saying, if you think I'm going to give you a turn after sitting on my wheel all day to Kron, no chance, he says. Going to run out of road, I'm afraid, to catch Tom Pidcock, but it's been very, very close. He's moderated his drive, but looks like he's going to get there. Maybe he won't. Lutsenko looks down, sees Kron here, and they're cat and mousing for 4th place. Little dab on the brakes by Lutsenko, as if to say, you're joking? 400 metres now. Lutsenko, does he still believe he can get a podium place? That car's got to be careful. Very, very close at hand here. And they get a little bit of a bow wave as a result of it. That car just needs to hold position for the time being and not try and start thinking about getting to the evacuation point. That's what it's doing. Pidcock still holds on. Kron picks up. And here goes Lutsenko. He's going to get guided in here. Played a clever game, or maybe a disastrous one. Slight rise in the road here, and Lutsenko comes out. Oh, and he can't find the drive. Lutsenko can't find the drive, and Pidcock just going to make it home here. I think Kron's going to have Lutsenko. Pidcock, Kron, Lutsenko. The 3-4-5. Well, now we've got to wait and see what the margin is to some great riders, Brian, but none greater than this man at the moment.
Like 30K. 30K.
I was just listening to what he was saying there. Luke Maguire, his PR man, beside his side the whole time. An Irishman, side to side. But incredible performance from Pogačar today, Haley, and well done for Pidcock for hanging on for 3rd.
And this, Brian, is about everybody else.
Well, for a lot of these teams, it's about trying to get in the top 10. Nice to see that Lotto Destiny having a couple of riders up there. Baggioli came up here to potentially steal 6th place. But you could see that Lutsenko, he was tying up, wasn't he? So 6th place for Sudal Quick Step, which is reasonable. In the back, they've not had the best of the results. Starting to see some of the other riders that have been in the race now.
A margin of 3 minutes. That is just incredible, and they're all governing for those minor places here, Brian. And
Simon Clark just closing out Greg Van Avermaet here.
It's all that's left, isn't it?
Yeah, minor places, unfortunately. Groups everywhere, riders everywhere. Cavagna for Sudal Quick Step. Cosnefroid coming up as well. Well, that's Greg Van Avermaet, sorry. Cosnefroid was in the group against the barriers. But yeah, everybody fighting for minor places. But it just shows you how tough that race was, where Lutsenko just got out the saddle and realised that there was nothing there, nothing left in the legs.
And it also underscores what Pogačar has here, which is just the capabilities to impose himself on everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. If Pogačar's in the race, you better be, well, you're going to have some fear, that's for sure. When are they going to finish this place?
Tadej Pogačar, 2 weeks ago, Tour of Flanders, now the Amstel Gold Race. Every victory has his own story. What's today's story?
Yeah, it's unbelievable today, actually. I did not expect that we go in breakaway so early, and yeah, I was on a sort of flat tire for many Ks in the front, and yeah, I was doubting that I could come to the finish solo, but in the end, yeah, I squeezed as much as possible to come to the finish line, and yeah, I made it.
That's the Amstel Gold Race, huh? The narrow roads. It's difficult for your sports director to reach you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was really frustrated because we didn't have cars for so long time, and yeah, then we managed to get the bike just in time to before the final climbs, and yeah, it was really tight and really nervous at one moment.
The first attack, when you rode away with the big group, around 80 kilometers to go, was that according to plan?
No. I just went to the front. I saw some really really good riders in that group, and yeah, many riders. So I jumped to the front. Our guys could sit in the back and control. So yeah, either way we were in good situation because we had in the back Hirschi and Trentin, but I think they had some bad luck in the end.
The decisive attack was on the Keutenberg. This week you told us that you don't know the names of the climbs, but you know that it was steep enough to go.
Matthew van der Poel told me that I should go on Keutenberg, and it is the most hard climb, and it suits me the most.
When did he told you that? When did he tell you?
3 days ago. Yeah.
He sent you a message, or did he ring you?
Yeah, send me a message. Yeah.
And you sent him a message back right now, or?
Yeah, of course. I will thank him for advice.
Next up, Flash Wallon and then Liège.
Yeah, exactly. Wednesday it's a Flash. It's hard race for me. I never did a good result there, but yeah, with good shape right now, I think, and a good team, we can do a great result also in Flash.
Thank you very much.
And a good team indeed, that today did a lot of the early chasing. In fact, wore down the peloton. Some great names were diminished because of the prowess of UAE Team Emirates. You don't get to see them that much because Pogacar draws the eye. Tadej Pogacar taking it ahead of Ben Healy, who adds to his victory tally this year. Thomas Pidcock finishing at 2 minutes and 14 down, just ahead of Kron and Lutsenko, got the same time. Baggioli leading home the next group, of which they came home in dribs and drabs. Great credit to Ben Healy. The Industria, the Alternativo he took, don't forget, this year, and that was off the back of a fantastic performance that he'd had in the Coppi Bartali, where he got third place overall. But this was the moment that Tadej Pogacar decided to just say farewell to those who'd been around him, and great riders they were too. Tom Pidcock could do nothing at this point.
No, he just wasn't quite there like he was in previous editions. Just kind of maybe lacking something over the last few weeks after his exit from Tirreno, but still managed to hold on to a podium position. But yeah, echo sentiments about Ben Healy. Although he didn't win today, this is his best performance, I think. But just look out what it meant to Pogacar to win this race.
As we said, his hunger remains undiminished, and that's a spectacular thing. He is hungry for more. Well, there we are. Those who've won Flanders, Liège, Bastogne-Liège, and Lombardia: Eddy Merckx, Bartali, Philippe Gilbert, and of course Tadej Pogacar. It's quite a group.
Yeah, 4.
It's amazing, isn't it? Eddy Merckx himself has described Tadej Pogacar as the next Eddy Merckx. I think people in Belgium would prefer it to be a Belgian rider. And you never know, it might happen, but yes, in good company, of course, with our very own Philippe Gilbert. But in current company, what is Tadej Pogacar? How on earth do you unpick a man like that?
At current form, he can't. He just said his interview there about Flash Wallon. He's never had a good result there. He never had a great result here in the past. The form he's got at the moment is really hard to see by him.
Well, we had our tumbles, we had our splits, but really, it wasn't the wind, it wasn't the surface, it was Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah, it was. You don't often win because it kind of zigzags and it's kind of all over the place. It loops all over the Limburg area. The wind doesn't have a great effect in this part of the world, but that group there never sprinted, but this group did.
Let's hear from Andreas Kron, who finished with Alexei Lutsenko.
Thank you very much, Andreas, for congratulations, because You did a really nice race. Tell us about it. Take us through it.
Yeah, it was a really hard race. I would like to come in ahead of, especially Pogacar. Now I ended the group with him, and it was just the last, 100k about suffered the most. I went with Lutsenko, and then we were really close to Pidcock. So right now I'm a little bit disappointed that I did not get the podium spot, but I'm happy with the way we raced today. So
You didn't get much help from Alexei in the final meters. He could have done it, eh?
Yeah, but I never been in that situation. I know I have normally a good sprint in the final, but I was not really feeling good the last 10Ks. But I think if we did not hesitate, we could maybe catch him. But that's part of racing.
Can you talk to us about that decisive moment when the group goes, and when the moment where Pogacar went? How you manage at this moment? What you think is possible, knowing it's Pogacar? How was it in your head at this moment?
Yeah, first we went away with around 100k to go, I think, a little bit less. And there I went with Pogacar, and on Isoboswig when he made the decided move, where Lutsenko and me, we just got dropped. I was going with, but also know, okay, if you go really full, then you are also, good example is last year with Eskren going with him in Flanders, and then he exploded later. So I was hoping we could come back, but we did not came back. And then it was just about working together with Lutsenko. He was really, really strong. But Pogacar is just on another level, and even he changed bike and then he come and attack. So but we can be happy that he is not winning so much.
Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you.
There you are. Beautifully summed up, Brian. Even with the bike change, how do you stop him?
You can't.
Simple as. Gather yourselves then and get yourselves ready for more action from Tadej Pogacar. Meanwhile, let's have a look back at how today panned out, shall we? Well, they flagged him off, and we got ourselves a very highly effective breakaway, which pulled away with only 4 kilometres completed of the day. So still 250 to go then. Out front, Leon Heinzke was with DSM. Vacek made the move by Trek Segafredo. Ludvigsen and Fideli for Q365. Van Hoff of Flanders, and Oranstad of X, along with Versha from Total Energies. But the chase was on, and as soon as a split was made, Brian, there was one man who seemed to be the impresario of just about everything. And despite the bumps and bruises that were suffered in the chase, I think that was down to the nervousness that had been created by Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah, the team rode brilliantly for UAE Team Emirates. He had a bike change with just under 40 to go. He was wanting that bike change for about 20 or 30 kilometres. Bottles already on the bike, ready to go, and pushed into action. And we've just heard for Andres Kron that, to get a bike change, to come back up and then go on the attack, which he did.
He did. 36.3 kilometres of the day remaining. He'd already caused the big split, diminished the break, and he wanted it filtering even further. You see Lutsenko there in the blue, and Healy just trying to roll over and stay with Pidcock and Pogacar. And then with 28.5 kilometres to go, this was where Pogacar said, "I'd prefer to do this on my own, if you don't mind." And away he went. Pidcock and then Healy teamed up in the chase. That was then to fracture on one of the 33 climbs that this day indeed held. With 20 kilometres remaining, he was coming up to the Coburg for the last time of asking. The crowds were waiting to welcome him, but the gap at this point was enormous, and the only rider that could hope to stay with him, perhaps, or we're about to find out, between these two, it turned out to be Healy.
It did, and this was the moment that Healy put the pressure on, the penultimate climb of the race. And Healy took his chance, and took his chance well, and unfortunately Pidcock just couldn't go with the Irishman.
Well, Tom Pidcock is a fabulous rider. He will be back, but at the moment, how on earth do you sum this man up? Flanders went his way. when he's on this sort of form at this part of the year, be very afraid. Racing again on Wednesday next weekend. Don't bet against him. Oh, we're waiting for our podium. And the most recovered rider is going to be Tadej Pogačar because he's been here the longest.
Good money.
He's walking faster than Pidcock.
My grandmother, yes. She's here. Yes, she's here.
Well, we're going to be hearing from Axel Ziegler in a few months' time. But I don't know when we're going to get to our podium. They are getting themselves in place. And here comes Axel Ziegler.
Oh non, ça va, c'était pas très dur. C'était une petite coursette.
I did a nice race, wasn't so difficult.
Bah, j'ai jamais de crampes. Et aujourd'hui, je
got
sais pas
myself.
pourquoi. J'ai commencé à sentir des crampes.
No, usually I never have cramps, but I got them this time.
C'est pas facile de monter les murs.
Not easy.
Moi, j'ai ignoré un peu les crampes.
It's not really easy to climb those small walls. I ignore the cramps.
Et bon, heureusement, personne. Tout le monde était un peu cuit, donc ça m'a permis de m'accrocher.
And
j'allais chercher une placette.
Did my best.
Bon,
everyone was tired.
C'est un peu décevant, je pense.
I knew that I could get myself a nice finish position. I changed bike because of the rain. It was very slippery.
Et c'était pas grand-chose, mais
and unfortunately, my second bike wasn't as good in the climbs. It's not much, but on such a day, it makes quite a difference. So maybe that explains a little bit the cramps.
Bon, après, j'ai tout donné.
I think I'm 11th or 10th, or 11th. I'm a bit disappointed, but I gave everything, so no regrets. Let's head to the podium, shall we? Cheers ringing out, and a very appreciative crowd, I think it's fair to say. Tom Pidcock, very much part of the drama today. Looks a bit circumspect about it. Very fond of Tom. He's always very, very straight talking as well. There'll be no nonsense if we hear from him, you can be sure. This is going to be a big cheer. Ben Healy. A couple of Irish bars locally as well. I'm sure he'll be going and entertaining them. Entertained us as well today, Brian.
He definitely has, equalling Stephen Roach's podium position in 1982 in second, a couple of years before. Sean Kelly in third.
Well, there can only be one winner. Unfortunately for everyone else, that winner is usually Tadej Pogačar, and so it was today. Sensational, Ben Healy and Tom giving him the recognition he deserves. There we are. We have liftoff. Suddenly appearing is the trophy. I was expecting to appear an absolutely enormous glass of beer. It was one about as big as his torso that they presented last year, but anyway, there we are. He gets the trophy, which arrives via rocket by the looks of things. The beer's going to suddenly pop up as well. Let's see. They're very modest this year, Brian.
You don't want it too big, you want it cold. Short and cold.
Big and cold's better. Oh, there you go. Oh, they love that.
How to please the crowd in more ways than one.
Down in one. Tadej Pogačar has taken it ahead of Ben Healy and Thomas Pidcock, as you well know. And they've all had a beer to celebrate. I think he earned it, Brian.
Definitely. Definitely. I think they all weren't it. Such a brutal race today.
Well, it's a busy old time, Brian. What's your next event?
I think May sometime.
Don't forget, next week, the Tour of the Alps begins on Monday. Absolutely beautiful part of the world. Time to enjoy it. Right here on GCN Eurosport, Warner Brothers Discovery. The most combative rider from today. Hard to give it to anybody else, Brian. He's got himself a big penny to go and spend. I'll be after the beer.
I was thinking that.
There'll be a few other awards as well, and I'll be bound not the last that he's going to be picking up this year.